Welcome, 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 ladies
Hello.
and gentlemen, to the greatest show on earth.
That's right. And we can end it there. Let's go ahead and end it there.
And that's a wrap. We'll see you next time,
guys.
Thank
you for joining. That's it for us tonight. We just wanted to come on here, make a ludicrous statement, and leave. So that's what we did.
Yes, like we're doing a half a marathon crumping. The whole half marathon.
That's right.
Be on the lookout. The crump marathon.
So did you watch any of this?
I've seen bits and pieces of it. I didn't watch that full video that you're talking about. I've seen clips of it. That Marilyn, was it Marilyn Manson and is this the same one where they're like, were they part of MKUltra and the guy's kind of like, I mean, yeah.
You mean Charles Manson?
Charles Manson. Sorry.
He said
Charles Marilyn. Marilyn's probably a CIA plant too.
Yeah,
dude.
no, that's actually a great point. That's actually a great point. Like it's not a stretch from Charles Manson to Marilyn Manson.
No.
And he also changed his name to that. Like that's not his original name. He changed his name to that, so he had the Manson in there. Like
yeah. So that's my. I've seen bits and pieces, but I haven't seen the whole hearing.
I got a lot of clips. I have a lot of clips from it, so I don't think we need to play the full thing because we'd have to skip around. Just because there's a lot of nonsense in there. Them swearing in, and they had this goofy ass. They had this goofy ass woman in there. The minority witness, aka the one who
Sorry, go ahead.
The one the Democrats brought in wasn't even there to discuss MKUltra. She was some woman from the NIH, and she was there to talk about fucking like vaccines and shit.
Hell yeah. Well done.
Yeah.
You're in the wrong place, lady.
Let me find the opening statement because that's what we should definitely start with.
$18.
What the fuck? Do I not have it?
Hello, what's up?
What's up,
everyone
Kinsley?
Else? Appreciate you guys stopping by. You come, you go, whatever. We're just two dudes who might be a little crazy.
Just a little bit.
How goes it, Kinsley?
Just give me 1 second. Like all my shit just got out of order. So I apologize.
I would agree, Theodore. We were just, I'm guessing you were there for it, but we're talking about the MKUltra hearing. And some lady was brought in and started talking about vaccines. Like, I mean, that could kind of tie into MKUltra, but.
For sure.
Yeah. Mandatory flu vaccines, and it's some new concoction of shit they're pushing out to the public that's just furthering mind control and Project Bluebeam. And little do we know they're going to play something over the air and it's going to be some sleeper cell type shit. They're going to activate all of us. And
well, dude, and they specifically asked that. Tim Burchett, shout out to Tim Burchett. Seems like our only congressman who gives a shit. He asked that question. He was like, it's, you know, and I've said it before. It seems like essentially, I'm paraphrasing what he said, but like these people can just be activated.
That's the whole thing behind like sleeper cells, and always has been that like there's some deep like even on a, I would guess more on a subconscious level programming that there's like activation words, and it's still no one's ever come out and say it's true, but you know, as we've said, fiction is often stranger than, or the reality is often stranger than fiction. If I could talk, that'd help, but yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to let this load for a second, but I found the whole thing. We're just going to watch the whole thing. I don't feel like skipping around, and I don't want to risk missing something. So we'll watch the whole thing. We'll skip as we feel the need to, but I thought
like
this
the
hearing was pretty
swearing
important.
in and stuff. We can kind of. No, I like that
And they
idea.
got
Is going through the whole thing.
Yeah. And they got the right people. Well, except for the fucking minority witness, because I don't know why, again, why is that woman there? She had nothing of value really to bring to the argument. The other guys, like, I'll be right back. I got to grab the book.
The book. He's going to hit us with the book, guys. Careful. Get ready to duck. Oh, he's wearing a diaper. You all saw it? You all saw it? Bury my bones.
Never mind. I can't find the book, but they have the guy who wrote Chaos. And it's all about Charles Manson and how he was clearly some type of government. At a minimum, he was a government informant, but it goes into all the weird stuff about, there were so many times Charles Manson was like let out of jail for breaking parole. And like these people would show up and just coincidentally he would be released. Like clearly there, and it goes into Jack Ruby too. There's similar stuff with Jack Ruby.
Yep. I mean, I feel like that, because let's be honest, there is something to like cults and stuff like that for, young adults, weak-minded people, not always weak-minded, but you know what I mean, a malleable mind. But there's something more to it too that I feel like, for the most part, regular people aren't going to be like, oh, hell yeah, let's go join a cult. You know what I mean? There's some kind of influence in some kind of, I would say, and not everyone is good at something they do through official training, but I feel like some of these cult guys were being told what to say, how to manipulate people, how to use drugs to manipulate people. Like there was this guideline, this handbook that it's not always that way, but I feel like sometimes it very well could have been, again, and that's what we're talking about, relating it to something like MKUltra, some kind of guiding hand that helped these people to, do what they did and put fear into people and pass some new law.
Yeah. And by the way, all the information we have about MKUltra is from a few documents that were mislabeled and didn't get destroyed. And we'll go ahead and start here, but Paulina Luna, which by the way sounds like a porn actress, but she's not. But anyways, she goes into that a little bit about how we're lucky we even know what we know about this program.
She's bad. She's a badass broad. She's a bad, like, yes. I like her.
Her, Burchett, and Burleson are like, they seem like the only three congressmen who give a shit about this stuff.
And I wanted to touch on something just before, because you were talking how she's saying it's lucky we got our hands on this. Well, it goes back into where the CIA raided and took, like, how much of this shit has been destroyed. Right. We will never know the truth because
they went into Tulsi Gabbard's office a month ago and just snatched shit up. She was what was she? The director of national intelligence.
Yep.
And the CIA went into her office and just took a bunch of shit. That just tells you.
Shouldered people out of the way and said, mind your business, went in there, took shit.
Yep.
And that's just stuff that was probably missed. But imagine how much stuff that wasn't missed, that was destroyed and or is gone forever, that we will never know. I think it goes so deep. But yeah, let's go ahead. Let's play. Oh, yeah. Full screen.
Right, just let me know if it.
No, full screen on the.
Because I'll have it full screen. I'll have it full screen, so I won't be able to see it. And if you just need me to pause, just say pause. But her opening statement's pretty good too. I think we should listen to the full thing.
I recognize myself for the purpose of making an opening statement. This hearing is about the crimes committed by the Central Intelligence Agency against the American citizens and the decades of secrecy used to conceal them. The American people deserve a complete and truthful record. The victims and their families deserve acknowledgement, and this Congress has a constitutional obligation to ensure that full declassification is not delayed any longer. Project MKUltra was not a policy failure or an overzealous program that got out of hand. It was a deliberate, systematic governmental operation that subjected American citizens, prisoners, hospital patients, veterans, ordinary people to LSD, electroshock, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, psychological torture without their knowledge or consent. This went on for 20 years on American soil, funded by American taxpayer dollars and authorized by the very top of U.S. intelligence apparatus. And this program, when it did end, the men who ran it did not cooperate with investigators. They did not come forward. They committed another crime. They destroyed evidence. The documents this task force has reviewed are unambiguous. In January 1973, the director of the CIA, Richard Helms, prepared to leave office. He personally ordered the destruction of MKUltra records. The CIA official document in writing states, over my stated objectives, the MKUltra files were destroyed by the order of DCI Mr. Helms shortly before his departure from office. A separate internal account confirms that Helms telephoned Dr. Gottlieb directly and instructed him to destroy, quote, all files pertaining to drug research and associated activities. Gottlieb compiled 4 people, spent an entire day tearing, burning down 152 files. Then Gottlieb had his personal paper retired. The head of the CIA-owned records center protested the destruction in writing, but he was overruled. That is obstruction of justice. That is criminal destruction of federal records, and neither individuals were ever charged with a crime for it. Helms received a $2,000 fine for lying to Congress about an unrelated matter and collected his government pension until he died. Gottlieb retired in rural Virginia and wrote poetry. No one went to prison. No victim was ever formally compensated by the government for the harm that they caused. By 1975, the Church Committee and the Rockefeller Commission had already established through sworn testimony and the surviving 1963 Inspector General report that MKUltra existed and that the CIA had run a program of human experimentation on unwitting Americans. The scope and detail of what we know today is largely because of an accident. In 1977, an archivist diligently complying with a FOIA request of MKUltra financial records that had been misfiled and escaped the bonfire. Those 7 boxes included the names of institutions, the name of subprojects, the researchers who participated, the specific operation that the CIA had funded, and without them, the vast majority of MKUltra.
I just want to ask for people that are in here, one, if you know what MKUltra is, and 2, or even if you don't know what MKUltra is, do you believe that the government, let's say it's a government entity, right? That the government would and has tested things and done things to the American public without them knowing? I mean, I don't know if anyone will speak up and say, but I want to put that out there because you don't. Kinsley, you're saying you don't know what MKUltra is, but do you think the one? Let's even broaden it here. Not just the American government. Do you think these world power governments, China, Russia, Israel, us, all knowingly, all of them would knowingly test things and develop things on their own people without talking to them? Okay, so I think we should, Jay, I think we should go into what MKUltra was. Just a little bit. I think we skipped that a little, and that's why it kind of clicked for me for a second.
What's up, Ricky Clark?
Yeah.
So MKUltra, for everybody who doesn't know, is the U.S. government experimenting with a whole bunch of stuff. And like Paulina Luna said, a lot of it was on unwilling people. So this is most commonly what people know this as is experimenting with psychedelics. commonly LSD, but it was other stuff too. There are cases
There
where
was a
they were
movie on
poisoned.
it with George Clooney, The Men Who Stare at Goats.
Well, that wasn't LSD. That was something different. And that's when you get into the mind control aspect of MKUltra and a lot of this other stuff. And there was even other stuff in there about the, a lot of people have heard of Midnight Climax. They get into that in this hearing too, but that's when they were, you know, they were studying using prostitutes and stuff like this. And there was a whole bunch of FBI agents implicated. MKUltra encompasses a lot of stuff, but if I was to narrow it down, it's mind control, and mind control is the best way to do it, because the LSD stuff was about the mind. It wasn't about it was about the effects of the drug, but it was, you know, LSD is one of those psychedelics.
Yeah, it's mind control, and I would say it's wasn't always about actual mind control. It was manipulation through. But mainly they focused on mind control and drug induced and long-term programming. You know, like it goes very deep. It's not just, from what I understand, it's not just simply mind control. It's being able to guide people and manipulate people through one, mind control, but through other avenues of approach. And I think, you know, MKUltra ended. Me personally, I think it's gone. Matthias, what's good? I think it's gone into 6G, 5G. It's gone wireless now. It's gone
exactly. It hasn't ended. It hasn't ended. It's just evolved like everything else. And Burchett's going to ask a really important question once we get into it. He asks the question, you know, now can they just, instead of whatever having these therapists do it and sit people down and mess with their minds over months and months, can they just put these frequencies out here and just take control of you? And that's what it's evolved to, if you ask me.
And I think it's evolved, and two, through the media, you know, ideological subversion, like Theodore said. Like, I think they've gotten so good at it that they don't need drugs anymore. They don't need any of this. They can take this long-term approach and put these ideas and push it in Hollywood, in the media, and saturate your life, and kind of, you know, now making it a Rome type thing, now making it, it's not so bad to be this way. It's not so bad to do this, and just slowly bringing it more and more and more to the forefront, to where people, their thoughts are changing. What's right and wrong is changing, the whole nine. But okay, that's all I wanted to touch on, because I was thinking about it and I was like, maybe not everyone. I am formal today. I am a distinguished member of the press.
He's a handsome man.
I'm a distinguished member of.
I'm not sure how to say your name. Millie Wise.
No, that's Amelia. That's the German.
Emily.
No, Amelia. Or I still can't say it. Ricky, hello.
He's still jacking your name up.
We already
said one thing
hi.
I want to hit on before we keep playing this, though, is that, and this is just my theory, I don't think it's this long-term process anymore. I think they can just fucking turn people on, just take their shit over right away. Like, I think this has evolved so much that.
Yeah. I think, and I think, like, you know, MKUltra was the beginning of it. I think MKUltra was, you know, there was always this study of it. I think that you know, we have one here. The Germans did it, and
they get into
the Russians did it. Yeah, and then so MKUltra started, and we were using drugs and other resources to try to do this, but then they realized they can move past that. So MKUltra shut down, but the program didn't end. It just took a different route in my eyes. That's but yeah.
And MKUltra also covered things like remote viewing, stuff like that. A lot of that shit was tied together. But anyways, let's continue watching.
Would only be a rumor, just as Helms and Gottlieb intended. Those 7 boxes revealed that MKUltra comprised at least 149 subprojects, operated across more than 80 institutions, and involved 185 non-government researchers. They revealed that the CIA covertly contributed $375,000 to a hospital research wing, which was approved directly by DCI Alan Dulles, which Richard Helms Concurrence, so the agency could use unwitting patients as experimental subjects in what their own documents called a hospital safe house. The CIA's Inspector General said in 1963, his classified report concluded that the program had exceeded the agency's legal chapter, and covert testing on unwitting subjects placed the rights and interests of U.S. citizens in jeopardy. The program ran for a decade that we know of, and they ignored their own watchdog. Let me be clear what I believe that we are dealing with here. Administering drugs to people without their knowledge or consent, subjecting humans to psychological torture, and using prisoners and hospital patients as non-consenting research subjects. These are crimes against humanity. The Central Intelligence Agency committed them, and then the director of the CIA was ordering the destruction of evidence. Today, we will hear from two witnesses who have spent years unraveling the cover-up that our government ordered. Stephen Kinzer documented the life and crimes of Sidney Gottlieb in his book, Prisoner of Chief, and Tom O'Neill spent over 20 years investigating what the CIA buried and what they obscured that, in my mind, constitute some of the worst notorious crimes against humanity in the 20th century. Their persistence in the research in this hearing is possible simply because they are patriots. The American people deserve the complete record. The victims and their families deserve acknowledgement, accountability, and justice. And this Congress has a constitutional obligation to make sure that the CIA never does this again. With that, I'm going to be opening up first questions, and I'll hold my questions to the end to Representative Burleson. But before I do pass it, I did want to just note, a few weeks ago, we did receive reports. There's some back and forth regarding the CIA and ODNI pertaining to new MKUltra boxes that were discovered. Myself and Representative Burleson did go down to Langley. We did meet with the CIA, and the CIA is currently in the process of declassifying newly found documentation, although the documents, and I feel comfortable enough to share it here, pertain specifically to a forgery program that was being housed under MKUltra. So as soon as those...
So we could stop it there for a second. We could skip a little bit because she's going to start swearing them in. But a couple things I thought were interesting. Number one, that last piece, a forgery program. It'll be interesting to see what comes out of that. But basically, a government program to make forgeries is shit. The other thing I found interesting, and I think this is an important one, is unwilling participants. You know, she was very specific about saying unwilling, because a lot of people, they've heard of the big MKUltra experiments, such as the Stanford experiments, where they had students being prisoners and the other ones being guards, where they were willing, you know, and that's how they do these things. But a lot of this shit was unwilling.
Gray area. It's all about the gray area.
Yeah.
The government
and
always
the other
is.
one was one point I wanted to make is we already had a hearing about this. In 75, there was a hearing about MKUltra. So our Congress hasn't discussed this in, what is that? 51 years. That's a half a century. And Congress has just been like, not a big deal. So say what you will about, you know, these MAGA,
what's good?
These MAGA politicians and whatnot, but a lot of them, they are asking the questions that I want to ask. So
yes, and you know, I think some of it is freedom of maneuver. Like, I don't think this is all, and I don't think this is all Trump and at Trump's head and Trump saying to do this. I think Trump has given them the freedom of maneuver, right? That he's given them, like, you can do this, you can go here. He's just let them kind of go a little bit. So
of course, I
mean, there is some, you know, we, and you too, we both disagree with a lot of things that, how he's handled things. And, you know, originally we were Trump supporters and things have changed, but yes, I think that freedom of maneuver was huge for all these people. Tim Burchett, you know, APL, I'm just going to call her APL. It's easier for me to say.
Doesn't take 30 seconds. But one caveat I want to say is, part of me does think maybe this is just get people stop talking about the Epstein files. Let's talk about MKUltra. Let's talk about UFOs.
Aliens.
Just stop talking about the UFO, the Epstein files. I do agree with what Mateus said. He said only a decade. Yeah, no way. Fuck no, this shit never stopped. It just got rebranded.
I like what he also said. And I think it very well could be that, just people pleasing. And I think it's maybe both of those, where it is this misdirection and this people pleasing, and polls didn't look so good. Things start happening, like people, oh, it's great again, so I think it's a mix of everything. And I think this is product of MKUltra type stuff. They just know how to manipulate. There's people like us who are somewhat like-minded and will question things and will, raise an eyebrow. But I think for the majority of people, they have it down to a science. They just know how to navigate up, down, give, take away, give just a little back, two steps forward, one step back type thing. And I think it's just a science at this point.
I do agree with that, but and this is the problem. I do think people could go to jail. We just saw John Bolton get sentenced. Okay, former director of the CIA, John Bolton. So they are willing to throw people under the bus. The problem is there's lines to who they're willing to throw under the bus. It's not going to cross party lines, right? It's going to be people who were on the wrong side of the political aisle, or people who attack Trump. Those are going to be the people that are there. They are willing. It's kind of a shitty way to say it, but those are going to be the people that are willing to sacrifice, right? This isn't going to be an all-encompassing. Everybody's going down. Yeah, exactly, Shelley. Scapegoats.
Yep, they already have people lined up, and they probably already. Even some of the people lined up is like, hey, listen, man, we're going to put you in jails, whatever, some cush federal, because some of these federal lockups for like HVTs, high value targets and stuff are, like staying at the W Hotel. It's super nice. And then, give it a year, 2 years. You probably won't even stay that long. You're just going to be in prison and be out of the spotlight. People will forget. And you're just going on with your life. Here's $10 million for it. Off books.
Yeah, they're not going to Guantanamo Bay, which is probably where they should be when you consider the amount of damage that some of these people have done to society. It's equivalent to the people who are at Guantanamo Bay. But you're right, that's not where they're going to go. They're going to go to these cush prisons like Ghislaine Maxwell's at. But here's the opening statement, and we will listen to all the opening statements because I do think that they are very interesting, because you get a 6-minute perspective of what these men uncovered, and then
men and women.
Complete account of MKUltra.
Well, I don't know what she's even here for.
I'm being funny.
That exists in public, but I'm painfully aware that I have discovered only a small portion of what MKUltra was and what Sidney Gottlieb did. In 1951, the CIA hired Gottlieb and directed him to launch what became MKUltra. Gottlieb believed that in order to find a way to implant a new mind into someone's brain, you first had to find a way to destroy the mind that was in there already. In its search for ways to destroy a human mind and body, MKUltra conducted the most extreme experiments on human beings that have ever been carried out by a US government agency. By any standard, they qualify as medical torture. These experiments took place in prisons, clinics, and safe houses in the United States, in Europe, in Asia, and even in Latin America.
The safe house thing is interesting. I didn't pick up on that the first time I watched this. I just now picked up on that.
Yeah. Officers of MKUltra were authorized to travel to foreign countries, preferably those under formal or informal US occupation, and ask the local CIA station to provide them with expendables, human beings who would not be missed if they disappeared. Gottlieb had what amounted to a license to kill issued by the US government.
That is fucking insane. That is crazy. They could go to these foreign countries and be like, hey, do you have any people around here who, like, they don't really contribute to society that we could experiment on? Like, that's the shit.
Here's this whole batch that if they die, it doesn't matter.
Like, that's the shit you read about when you read about Germany and Japan in World War II. Well, who did we get the program from? Of course we did the same shit.
Neither the number of MKUltra victims nor the number of those who were experimented to death is known.
Experimented
Gottlieb,
to death.
as a result of this license to kill, might
the
have
verbiage
been
is everything.
the most.
It's crazy, dude. Like, we would not have heard this shit in Congress 10 years ago.
No, I think a lot of it just kept being swept under the rug. Sorry. Like, a lot of it is like these presidents come in and it's like, I don't want to touch this, you know, like I poll numbers, everything. I don't really want to get my hands dirty. I just want to, you know, become famous, become an American president, handle the bigger issues. The bigger issues is all a distraction to them having a license to kill undesirables. Like,
yes. Which is the real big shit.
American of the 20th century. Some information about MKUltra spilled out during the 1970s, but senior CIA officers had intentionally let Gottlieb operate without supervision. So they were able to claim that they knew nothing about his excesses. This was a way for the CIA to deny its institutional role in MKUltra and to portray it misleadingly as the product of one man's sadism or excessive zeal.
Oh, hold on. Sorry. I want to touch on one more thing. In the intelligence community around this time too, the 60s, 70s and stuff was known as the era of benign neglect. Basically, the CIA was the wild, wild west. They had the ability to do whatever, whenever, to whoever. Like, and this isn't just with MKUltra. This is with changing geopolitical landscapes, with everything. Like, these guys could, I mean, kill presidents, could the U.S. presidents, if you kind of, you know what I mean? Like, it was this unregulated time in the CIA, and in even when you go like take intelligence classes, I've taken a few, they talk about that. That's literally what it's called, because these guys were just let loose and just do what you want. But yeah, sorry, go ahead, Jay. I just wanted to touch on that because it clicked in my head for a second.
Never Under Pressure. What's up? I've never seen you here before. Thanks for stopping by. Kinsley, yeah, no, you're right. Africa is the testing. Africa and Southeast Asia. But both of those places were heavily.
You know, I also think South America, but it's been kept under wraps more. Like that's a more recent thing, and it's a more hush hush thing. Like I think there's levels to it. There's levels to the test. There's the base level test where shit happens and stuff can get out a little bit and we can cover it up. But then there's these higher level tests that I believe are done in South America and places like that. And it's more hush hush.
Here's another important piece that I think needs mentioned. The CIA is not supposed to operate on American soil. The CIA is not supposed to. That's the FBI.
Investigating MKUltra is challenging because when Gottlieb and his mentor Richard Helms left the CIA in 1973, they illegally ordered that its records be destroyed. Soon afterwards, under DCI Stansfield Turner, a CIA analyst, as you pointed out, Madam Chairman, discovered a cache of MKUltra documents hidden among financial records. Turner credited that analyst with doing a very diligent job of Sherlock Holmesing. That same diligence, I believe, could bring results today. One of the great mysteries of MKUltra has to do with the death in 1953 of an MKUltra scientist, Frank Olson, who had announced his intention to quit the project. His plunge from a New York hotel room was described in the press as the suicide of an Army scientist. He was not an Army scientist. He worked for the CIA, and evidence suggests that his death may not have been a suicide. So there could be hidden documents that could illuminate this case. I would also point out that in addition to searching for unknown documents. This committee could do a tremendous service by simply asking for the end of redactions on the documents that we now have. There are reams of documents about MKUltra that have heavy sections redacted. In the 1970s, this was justified by the argument that it had only been 20 years since these terrible things had happened and revealing details might affect national security. Now 70 years have passed. That argument can no longer be valid. So I would urge this committee to try to fill out all the blank spaces in the documents that we have, because we know that is there. This task force could also consider trying to determine whether some new incarnation of MKUltra exists today. When the main phase of MKUltra drew to a close in the early 1960s.
10 minutes ago.
Yeah, not if you want to keep your head on your body.
Yeah.
Sidney Gottlieb concluded that it had failed, that in fact there is no such thing as mind control. Even if he was right, however, he may have been right only at that time. In the many decades since then, there have been enormous advances in cyber technology, in artificial intelligence, in neuroscience. Covert agencies may have access now to tools for mind control that Sidney Gottlieb could not even have imagined. It may well have been true in 1963 that mind control is a myth, but whether it's still true is uncertain. And
I think they just gave it another name.
Of whether
100%, dude. That's what happens. Shit just gets rebranded.
Mm-hmm.
Mind control might now be possible under our new circumstances is something that has presumably occurred to scientists who work for secret services, including our own. This task force has a chance to connect the past to the future. A renewed effort to find MKUltra documents from the 1950s and to fill out the redactions of those that have been released might shed new light on how the CIA operated during that period. It could also inform a new inquiry into whether any mind control projects are now underway inside the US security apparatus. That might help prevent the emergence of a 21st century MKUltra that could be even more destructive than the original. Thank you.
So I want to pause it there for a sec, because something just popped in my mind that I wanted to bring up when we were talking about rebranding, and it goes to these intelligence communities. So a lot of people know of the big two in special operations. They know Delta Force, they know SEAL Team 6, blue and green. Well, you also have orange, which is this super secret thing a lot of people don't know about. It's this Army intelligence. These dudes can do everything the CIA can do. Like, they work specifically with Delta and SEAL Team 6. Well, I was watching an interview with this guy. You're muted, by the way.
They're pretty much thank you. They're pretty much attaches to CIA. They're the army hand of CIA.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like they do everything they can do. Clandestine stuff, a lot of stuff. A lot of their stuff is SIGINT. But anyways, I was watching an interview with a guy who was in the orange group, and he was talking about the name of that organization changes every 6 months. Every 6 months, sure, that the name changes inside the Army, so that even people inside the Army, you don't know the name of this place for more than 6 months at a time.
Of course, and that's just that compartmentalization tactic, and even if, you know, someone was jeopardized, information was jeopardized, well, they can look into it. It's no longer that. It's just it honestly is a smart thing to do for an organization like that.
It is. But I was just like using that as an example of, like, when we talk about this rebranding and shit, we'll just change the name. And then another thing he was saying is, like, it was this, obviously it's this long training process, but you don't even know where the building is until you're in the unit for a couple months. Like, that's the level of secrecy in that. I can only imagine what it is in these programs nobody knows about. Like, there's no interviews with these people running these programs.
And you know, it goes into that thing of the old S4 type stuff. You know, they were brought in. Bob Lazar has talked about it. Like, you're in the back of, you know, a truck, a blacked out windowed bus, whatever, and they just drive, and it's just,
Yeah.
all right, we're here, get off. Like,
And it's a door in the side of a mountain.
Yeah, it's just one of these things that I think they've learned. I think they learned a big part of that through World War II, with everything going on with prisoners of war and everything, that they're people can really only make it so far. Like,
Yep.
no matter the secrets they have, if they're tortured, if they're, there's only so far the human body can go before something's given up. So they've learned just to, it changes. Probably when an op happens for something like that, then they change the name too. So the guy gets tortured and says, yeah, it's Army intelligence. It's at this, blah, blah, blah. And it's no longer there, or it's no longer that name.
Gone.
So, yeah.
All right, now we'll get into the
Thank you very much, Dr. Kinzer.
next
I
opening
now
statement.
recognize Tom O'Neill for his opening statement.
Thank you, Chairwoman Luna, and
Mic issues. Not you.
Yeah, it's them.
Yeah.
oh, sorry. Should I start over? Thank you, Chairwoman Luna, and members of the committee. It's a privilege to be here today. Almost 50 years ago, the last congressional hearings into MKUltra took place just a short walk from here in the Dirksen Senate office building. At those hearings, convened in August and September of 1977, representatives of the CIA told Congress and the American people that its 25-year effort to control human behavior had been a colossal failure. Because I believe Congress was never told the truth about what this program actually achieved. In fact, I believe the agency misled Congress in 1977 when it characterized MKUltra as a failure. My name is Tom O'Neill, and in 1999, I accepted a magazine assignment to write a story about murders committed by a group of hippies called the Manson family. For those unfamiliar with this horrific episode of American history, in the summer of 1969, 4 young people acting on the orders of a cult leader named Charles Manson went to the home of movie director Roman Polanski and murdered everyone they found there, including his 8.5-month pregnant wife, the actress Sharon Tate. The victims were complete strangers to their killers. The following night, Manson's followers murdered another couple in the same grisly fashion. At the time I accepted the assignment, I'd never heard of MKUltra, and I wouldn't for another 2 years after I'd missed countless deadlines, lost the assignment, and fallen down a nightmarish rabbit hole trying to answer the question I couldn't quite shake. How had Manson, a barely literate ex-con, acquired the ability to persuade ordinary young people to murder complete strangers simply because he had told them to? The pursuit of the answer to that question led me to Dr. Louis Jolyon West, known to his friends as Jolly. West was one of the most influential psychiatrists in America. During his career, he crossed paths with some of the most controversial events of the 20th century, including the Patty Hearst kidnapping case and the aftermath of the John F. Kennedy assassination investigation. In 1977, West was one of 7 academic researchers named in a front-page New York Times story alleging that the CIA had used American universities, hospitals, and prisons as secret laboratories for experiments involving LSD and other drugs on unwitting human subjects. West vigorously denied the allegations. He acknowledged that the agency had approached him, but insisted he had refused because he said LSD was too dangerous and unpredictable to be used on humans. He added that he limited all of his research with LSD to animals. The revelations in the Times led directly to the congressional hearings held later that year. West's denials, however, were effective. He was never investigated, and his name never came up at the hearings. I'll spare you the long and tedious story of how my Manson reporting led me to West, except to say that I eventually learned that in 1967, when Manson transformed into the cult leader we are familiar with today, he and his followers were receiving free medical care at a clinic in San Francisco, where West had established a base of operations for a research project he was conducting nearby. After becoming intrigued by the allegations against West, I learned that UCLA, his last academic home, had inherited his paper following his death in 1999. Nearly 2 months and more than 200 boxes later, I found the proverbial needle in a haystack: correspondence between West and Dr. Sidney Gottlieb, the architect of MKUltra. The letters begin in 1953, just 2 months after CIA Director Allen Dulles authorized the program, and while West was stationed at the Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas, where he was chief psychiatrist at the base hospital. In his first letter to Gottlieb, West proposed conducting experiments on unwitting human subjects, including military personnel, prisoners, and psychiatric patients at the base hospital. He then outlined the experiments themselves in 6 more pages that could have been written by Joseph Mengele. Using LSD in combination with hypnosis, West proposed inducing confusion, amnesia, and specific mental disorders in people who would remember nothing of their interaction with him afterward. He sought to develop techniques to extract true information and implant false information in unwilling subjects, and to alter the attitudes and beliefs of, quote, previously loyal individuals. In other words, to completely switch their allegiance from one group or leader to another. But it was another sentence at the end of that letter that stopped me cold. These experiments, he wrote, must eventually be put to test in practical trials in the field. Gottlieb's response could hardly have been more enthusiastic. My good friend, he wrote, I had been wondering whether your apparent rapid and comprehensive grasp of our problems could possibly be real. You have indeed developed an admirably accurate picture of exactly what we are after. West replied that there was no more vital undertaking conceivable in these times. There was another document in West's papers that had even more significant implications. It was a 14-page report that West wrote in 1956, just 3 years after he contracted with the CIA. In the report, West described administering LSD and other drugs in conjunction with hypnosis on unwitting human subjects, and then he made a remarkable claim. He announced that he had learned how to replace true memories with false memories in people without their knowledge. In other words, he clarified, it has been found to be feasible to take the memory of a definite event in the life of an individual and, through hypnotic suggestion, bring about the subsequent conscious recall to the effect that this event never actually took place, but that a different fictional event actually did occur. If West's report was accurate, this was not the failure agency officials described in 1977, quite the opposite. It was, in fact, the central ambition of the MKUltra operation, the means of gaining the ability to seize the control of a person's perceptions, memories, and ultimately their behavior. But there was still one more discovery, and this time I found it in the National Security Archives at George Washington University, the official repository of the CIA's MKUltra records, which were released to Congress after the 1977 hearings. In those holdings was a different versions of West's 1956 report. The original paper had been replaced by a 4-page summary that did not exist in West's files and appears to have been written by someone else. His claims about replacing memories were gone. In their place was a theoretical discussion of LSD.
Don't they call this suggestive reasoning?
The versions applied to Congress.
Like on a lesser scale.
What's up?
Don't they refer to it as suggestive reasoning on a different scale, like how they can, anyone can do it. Is someone's trying to recall something or talk about something, and you're kind of, oh, well, could it be this? Could it be this? And you can kind of guide them to almost change, like real time, to change their. I think that's what it's called, suggestive reasoning, to change how they see something. And this doesn't take drugs or or anything. It's just you talking when someone's trying to recall something.
No, that's been one of the big criticism of hypnosis, is like a lot of it is you can suggest these things under hypnosis and people can come up with these false memories. Mm-hmm. And the caveat to that is, well, that is the actual memory. And this is, the counterpoint. This is what people use to dispel it. So
yeah.
I don't know. I'm not.
Concluded that the effects of LSD and similar drugs on dissociative states had, and I'm quoting, never been studied. Never been studied. In the original report, West discusses observations from his own experiments, including detailed descriptions of using LSD to, as he wrote, speed the induction of the hypnotic state and deepen the trance in subjects. Those passages have been removed in the report turned over to Congress. The discrepancy could not
Sorry,
have
pause
been
it
more
for one more second. I just wanted to address
No, you're good.
what Matthias said. I put it on the screen for a second, but yeah. And I think that was kind of is what this has always been used for, is to guide a narrative, to guide people away from something or people towards something. You know, the hippie movement in civil rights and stuff. Well, they threw the whole Manson thing out there, and it wasn't only that. There was a bunch of serial killers in that time, and kind of taking people's, you know, free loving spirit away from them. I mean, killed the hippie movement. Yeah, like, love everyone, we're all equal. Like, no. Here's all these serial killers. You can't just go out. You can't just do this stuff. You can't just do drugs. You can't just think the way you want to think. It's scary out there. You need us to help you.
Yeah, and Manson was so broken by that time. Like, he believed by killing those people, he was gonna spark this race war in America. Like, it doesn't. Yep. It doesn't. To a sane person, that doesn't make any fucking sense.
It doesn't, and that's.
But
it just plays into what he said. The whole Manson thing, the whole everything.
Yeah.
But yeah. Sorry, I didn't. It's just he had said that, and it I liked it. Or, sorry. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna skip this this next lady's introduction again. It's not because she's a woman or a Democrat or anything like that. It's because she has nothing to add about MKUltra. I've already watched this shit. I don't know why she's here. Generally, like,
because she's Dr. Gen X.
Yeah, she is. It's pointless honestly, guys. It's pointless for this woman to be here. She is here to bring up nonsensical bullshit to further the Democrats' point of view. That's all she's here for. We have this hearing about MKUltra, and they brought this woman who supported Fauci in here.
Yeah, I mean, I for a second I was like, maybe she misspoke. She was, but I do kind of believe that vaccines could play into all of this. You know,
she does get grilled about vaccines, but I think it's here to muddy the water.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah. All right. Skip her.
Dr. Janessa, your time's expired. I'll be now going to myself.
Thank you very much.
Questioning. Thank you, ma'am. My first question is for
APL was
Mr.
like,
O'Neill.
yeah, you're done.
MK Naomi, the joint CIA Army program that ran parallel with MKUltra at Fort Detrick, appears to have been run with deliberate minimal.
So I think that's an important part. That's something I had never heard of before. A program called MK Naomi. It's she just said it. It's apparently a sister program to MKUltra.
Oh, they changed the name.
Documentation. Army records on Special Operations Division have apparently been destroyed. In your investigation, what did you learn about MK Naomi, and do you believe its activities were even more serious than what we know about MKUltra?
That would 100% be me,
I
by the
didn't
way.
learn anything about those operations.
Of course it would. I have to tell you, you're muted all the time.
It'd be like, yeah, you'd see me visibly, what the fuck? And then it would turn on when I say that. And I'd be like, oh, sorry.
I kept my focus mostly on Dr. West and his work. I do know that the only reason I found the documents I found was because Dr. West accidentally left them in his papers, and he probably did that because he corresponded with Gottlieb under Gottlieb's assigned alias, which was Sherman Grifford, and he addressed all his mail to a post office box here under Foss Corporation.
Thank you, Mr. I'm just going to
That's another important piece is the alias thing. Like, you don't think they learned anything from this? We don't have these people's real names. Of course we don't. And they're not sending letters anymore. This shit's all on secure internet that we can't access. Like, this is on their internet.
And that's something else to go into is, you know, me and you, and I think Quex had talked about it. There's this thing that people are discovering, this old internet.
Yep.
That's pretty much, it's kind of like a parallel universe. I don't remember what it's called. I don't remember, but it's been operating since way early on. And it's a lesser form, but it's still enough to transfer text, to do anything of that nature. And it's been there all along, and it's still running. So it's kind of like, well, something like that, you know, sipper nipper, like whatever, but you know.
And one thing that's interesting, I think I've talked about this before. I do agree, Mateus, that she's the necessary distraction. Is it kind of brings me back to the Finders cult. When they found those guys at that playground with those kids and they arrested them, the guys who arrested them said, and this was in the early 80s, maybe late 70s, they said that in the back, like it was either in the back of the van or in the residence, but I'm pretty sure it was in the back of the van. They had this essentially like high-tech internet for communicating back then. And these are these guys who were abducting kids and shit. And, you know, it went to high levels and stuff, but like, that's just crazy.
Well, and I think that, and then you get into the 80s, the 90s, the missing children, the milk cartons. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Hold what you're thinking, because I can't.
No, you're good.
The Johnny Gosh stuff, you know. Yep. I think that was another manipulation tactic, because, you know, kids playing outside, being left to their own devices, kind of, and growing up in that time, we 100% relied on our parents, but we also grew up in a way that we were outside. Like, it was a thing, you know, we'd be outside all day during the summer, you know, riding our bikes, and it's an ongoing joke. But, you know, our parents thought we were in the neighborhood. We were gone. We were off on some trip. and it created this, you know, kind of like reliance on people other than your parents, and in this creativity and all this stuff. And I think it mainly is creativity and imagination that we as kids had. But they were like, wait, this doesn't work. So we need to scare people. And, you know, Stranger Danger started coming out, all this stuff. The white van all of a sudden came out. They started taking. Now parents don't want to let their kids go outside. Don't want to let their kids run wild. I think that's part of a construct. I think that's part of a design, honestly.
I don't think that. Because I think that shit was real. And I'm not saying you think it's fake. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I don't think it was pushed in a way to keep kids inside. I think it was like the little information we did have scared the fuck out of parents, and rightfully so. Like
I agree, but I think it was inflated.
Are you not way more cautious than your parents were? I am.
Oh, of course. But I think that's by design. Like, I think
is it, or is it because
inflated.
You understand the world's not?
No. I think there's inflation. I think, like, listen, I've lived here for a few years now, right? Like, I know I can let my kids go outside by themselves. The wife, a different thing, right? But yeah. Like, I know I could let them go outside, do not leave. And that's how I was raised. You don't cross this road. You don't leave this area. Of course we did when we were older, and, you know, 6 kids that were pretty scrappy, like, together, it's going to be hard to abduct one of them. And given, I will say, I lived in a good, I wasn't inner city. I lived in a good area. So maybe I'm skewed in that aspect, but there were still creeps out there. There always were, like, and there always will be. I just think it was inflated. I think it was this fear was put in, and there's only and at the end of the day, there's still only so much you can do as a parent, right? Like I could go pick my kids up from school every day. I could, drop them off every day. I could monitor them every second. There's still times in the day something could happen. I mean, God forbid, we have international people here, but like, God forbid a school shooter.
Yeah.
God forbid, in there's recess. Someone just is standing in the wood line, whatever. Because like, there's still so much that can happen. And I think we've been skewed. Like it's a bad world. I know that there's these bad people. I don't think there's that many.
Oh no,
that we have to have this mass hysteria that everyone's keeping their kids in. Even with everyone keeping their kids in, and there's no longer this freedom. It's still happening, is it not?
Of course it's still happening, but that goes to the other side. Like I completely disagree. And the thing that freaked me out is I remember when I lived in Colorado and I checked, how many sex offenders lived around me, and it was shocking. And then I moved here in a real rural area and I check it and it's still fucking shocking. Like,
I checked it here and but then again, there's so many levels to it too. And to some extent, I think jail time, stuff like that does have an effect, right? There's
for those people.
I think it does. I think maybe, they take other routes, whether it's CP, whether they're going to snatch your kid off the street. I don't think so. And given today, I think, and we're going to see more of it, just how DNA, and now we're seeing flock cameras. I mean, the European people know this, and there's going to be more and more of it. Like it's eagle eye type stuff. If you haven't seen the movie, I suggest you watch it. It's kind of cool. It's not the greatest movie, but it's like getting away with things nowadays is really hard. And it's not really hard if you have somewhat of a brain on you, but for most people, they don't think these things through. And for most people, they probably got arrested because it was an act of the moment. It wasn't like this premeditated thing. Because I think a lot of the premeditated people probably don't get caught. And that's sad to say, but I'm getting sidetracked. I'm sorry. But I still think like, if when my kids are 12, I'd be okay with them going outside. Especially, I mean, I have two, and that's how I was raised. Me and my brother, my boys are the same, about 2 years apart. Me and my brother were thick as thieves, but two were always taught. And as I'm trying to teach my, like, nothing matters, like, except him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you will kill, bite, rip, like, it doesn't matter who it is. Like, that's your brother. That's your family. And friends go along with that. But, like, at the same time, like, that's your brother. Like, you'll learn to take, like, he's the most important person because, me and mom are going to be gone eventually. And it's going to be you two left.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Let's continue, though. Sorry, we got sidebarred a little, and you know me, I go on my rants.
No, you're good. We'll back up just a tiny bit.
Yeah, Shelley.
Army program that ran parallel with MKUltra at Fort Detrick appears to have been run with deliberate minimal documentation. Army records on Special Operations Division have apparently been destroyed. In your investigation, what did you learn about MK Naomi, and do you believe its activities were even more serious than what we know about MKUltra?
There's me, motherfucker. Son of a bitch.
I'm sorry. I didn't learn anything about those operations. I kept my focus mostly on Dr. West and his work. I do know that the only reason I found the documents I found was because Dr. West accidentally left them in his papers, and he probably did that because he corresponded with Gottlieb under Gottlieb's assigned alias, which was Sherman Grifford. And he addressed all his mail to a post office box here and a false corporation.
Thank
So
you, Mr. I'm just going to real quick go to
Okay.
Dr. Kinzer. Are you aware of anything that exists with MK and Naomi in your research? And if you could please press the button.
My understanding of MK Naomi is that it was a joint project between the military and the CIA. And there's a big difference because the MKUltra project was aimed at seizing control of the minds of individuals. The Army was interested in something different, which was trying to use biological agents in warfare against entire populations. So MK Naomi is the place where these two goals overlapped.
And that was
on something
the
real quick.
1953.
Just really quick. We'll continue where we are, but that's where it takes training to do stuff like this. Because if she just said, "Oh, hold on," I'd be like, "Okay, I'll just go fuck myself." Like I wouldn't think about it, and I'd say some shit like that. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
Matthias says Mr. O'Neill sounds like a psycho fan. I've listened to him talk a few times, a couple podcasts he's been on, and he's definitely obsessed with the topic.
But that's a good thing.
It is. It is.
You want people who are invested in it, because there's too many people that are following money, following what they're told, and people that aren't obsessed with it. But yeah, let's go.
A Frank Olson death, was that in a way tied to that from some chatter that we had seen in?
Exactly what the motivation was behind the decision about Frank Olson, if there was such a decision, is unknown.
My next question is also for you, sir. Operation Paperclip brought over 1,600 German scientists into the United States government after World War II, including individuals who had conducted human experimentation in concentration camps. The CIA and military were aware of their backgrounds and recruited them anyways. In your research, did you find direct documentation between Paperclip scientists and the development of MKUltra's experimental protocols, specifically the use of mescaline, hypnosis, and sensory deprivation, which were techniques also documented at Dachau?
Absolutely. Kurt Blume, who was the chief of biological weapons development for the Nazi government, came to work for the CIA. So did Walter Schreiber, who was the Surgeon General of the Nazi Army. I can just tell a brief story. When I was researching my book, I found what I think might be the first secret CIA prison or black site. It's a nice chalet in Germany. And the guy who now owns it took me into the basement.
Kinzer
He
kind
said
of
these
seems
were the
crazy to me.
cells where the MKUltra officer.
Yeah, I mean, he
It seems
probably
a little
is.
kooky, but I am too, so it's fine. Like, but I think you need a little bit of that. Like, I think people that are too concentrated on the world around them and how they're viewed and all this bullshit are just sheep, and then they run along this path. But you get people that are a little kind of like me, and you definitely you.
Yeah, well,
Sorry,
you
go
need
ahead.
people
Yeah.
with obsessive personalities to do this.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Working side by side with Nazis, carried out those gruesome experiments, which were actually just continuations of the experiments that those Nazis had been conducting just a few years earlier, right down the road.
Just for timeline and clarification, these experiments were happening after the Nuremberg trials, correct? So the CIA would have known that these were crimes against humanity.
I looked for an episode in which the Nuremberg doctrines were posted on the wall in some MKUltra or CIA office, and I was never able to find any indication that those Nuremberg principles ever were even consulted, much less obeyed.
Thank you. My next question would.
That just tells you that the Nuremberg, where the fuck did he go? He went to take a piss. That's awesome. No, but what I was going to say is that just tells you that the Nuremberg trials were a sham. Like, they put people up there. They put people up there to be the fall guys. Like, the dudes who were there definitely did shit wrong, but there were a lot of people who did some sick and evil shit. But we decided, hey, we can use this person, and that's what they're describing here. They were doing the same fucked up shit after the war, but they were doing it for us.
Be for either witness to comment, Dr. Kinzer or Mr. O'Neill. Both witnesses have written about the psychiatrist Louis Jolly West. Sidney Gottlieb, who ran MKUltra program for the CIA, hired West as a contractor to conduct research for subproject 43, combining hypnotism, drugs, and sensory deprivation to create dissociative states, in which, to quote Mr. Kinzer in his book, Poisoner in Chief, the human mind could be pulled away from its user. Operation Paperclip brought over 16 Kinzer in his book, Poisoner in Chief, the human mind could be pulled away from its moorings. Following the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, West psychiatrically examined Jack Ruby, then in prison for murdering the president accused of the assassination, Lee Harvey Oswald, the assassin accused of murdering President Kennedy, Lee Harvey Oswald. A report emerged from West's examination said that Ruby had suffered an acute psychotic break. Can you explain why Dr. West in particular was chosen to conduct an examination of Jack Ruby alone in his jail cell with no other psychologist present?
Be happy to. West inserted himself into the case when Ruby was the day of the shooting, the day after the shooting. West approached the judge in the preliminary hearings and asked to be assigned to the case. He was refused by the judge. After Ruby was convicted at his first trial, an associate of West, Dr. Hubert Winston Smith, who was a psychiatrist and an attorney, took over Ruby's defense for his appeal. And he had already discussed appointing Ruby to the case, or excuse me, West to the case. And as you said, West examined Ruby alone at the jail cell and emerged to announce that in the preceding 48 hours, he had an acute psychotic break from which he would never recover. He had been declared competent to stand trial the first time by a panel of, I think, 8 psychiatrists. This psychotic break lasted until his death in 1967. 2 months after West examined him, Ruby testified for the first time and only time to the Warren Commission. And it was the first time he ever publicly was supposed to say what his reasons were for shooting Oswald. The testimony had to be halted because he was babbling incoherently. And as Arlen Specter, who was a counsel to the commission, wrote in his memoirs, he pulled him aside and said that they were cutting off the arms and legs of children in Albuquerque and El Paso. And he said he was making no sense whatsoever. West, in his letters to Gottlieb from
they fractured his mind,
discussed experiments.
100%. They
had something in place to fucking crack the dude, and the dude just went. It was gone. You're not going to get any information out of him after that. It was, he was lost. He was done.
Oh yeah, Mateus, this information was definitely never meant to be public. Like what they're describing. What they're describing is Jack Ruby was a fucking agent used to kill Oswald. And then, so they could avoid him snitching. They had Jolly West go in there and completely break this dude to where he looks like a nutcase. So he gets written off as a fucking nutcase.
We're talking about MKUltra, basically this, and beyond that, we've talked how we think it's evolved beyond that to other things, but MKUltra was a program basically in mind control. Like in layman's term, and the simplest way to put it was mind control of regular people, how to make them do what you want, we're talking about the guy who killed Lee Harvey Oswald, and then he was brought in, and we're saying how he was possibly attached to this, right? Yeah, and then they had some way to just fracture his mind. So after he was brought in, he was useless. He was gone. His mind was gone. He was not the same person. Did I miss anything?
No, you described it pretty good. He went in, and then Jolly West was allowed to examine him by himself and completely broke the dude.
Yep.
Experiments where he would induce specific mental disorders in people without their awareness. A year before the Kennedy assassination, he publicly spoke in Oklahoma City and talked about his LSD experiments inducing psychiatric breaks and psychosis in people with the use of LSD, which of course later contradicted what he told the New York Times when he said he never used LSD in animal experimentation.
What an interesting connection. I'm out of time, but I'll be now recognizing Mr. Burleson from Missouri for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for your diligent work on this. And
that'd be tough for
hopefully
me.
we
You
will
have
hear
5
back
minutes
from the CIA on those boxes of documents that have so many questions about.
Hold on,
Dr.
hold
Kinzer,
on. As not an American. No, I'm just kidding. Because she's German. I was gonna say, where do you think we got this from?
Oh,
keep
I
going.
get what you're saying.
Yeah. Project Paperclip.
And Mr. O'Neill, the CIA created MKUltra in 1953, supposedly out of fear that the Soviet Union and China had developed mind control capabilities. Let me go back a little bit further. So one of my questions has to do with the event that happened in 1951 in August in France. There was a bakery that I guess the people that lived in that community, over 250, some say 300 people were poisoned from the bread. It was determined that that was LSD that was causing all of these people to hallucinate. Some people died. Is there any connection, Dr. Kinzer, to that event? And was that something that either inspired the MKUltra program or the MK Naomi program, or is that something that we were involved in even that early on?
It's funny because I literally just said that.
I don't think anybody really knows the full story of what happened at that time in France. That the United States could have been involved. That this could have been part of what was then called Operation Artichoke, the predecessor for MKUltra.
Hell yeah.
Seems to me not beyond the realm of possibility. There's a lot of overlap between the ergot enzyme that is the basis of LSD and certain rye and wheat funguses that can be used in breads. Was that something intentional? Was it something the Americans were involved in? I have my suspicions, but just based on my background as a journalist, I don't operate on suspicions. So I would love to see more investigation of that episode.
I want to talk about something.
My next question.
Really quickly, I'm sorry. I know I keep, you know me.
No, you're good.
What if, coming to the close of World War II, D-Day happens. What if there was some kind of realization, and even that early, there was some crosstalk and some working together, and it goes into something like that, a little town in France. Oh, USA might have been involved. Germany might have been involved, and there was this back and forth, and then we immediately switched against the Russians, the Cold War, everything. So what if there was some realization, because that was really the turning point of the war, was D-Day. Once we got a foothold on France, like once we breached the lines, there was still fighting, and it was a long fight, but I feel more so there was this realization that, okay, things are changing. The tide of the war is changing. Who's to say something like it? Just for a second, it stuck in my head that like Germany, USA, maybe the two of them. Maybe, Hitler escaped. I think he did. I don't think he died. He went to South America. No. Like there was this whole thing that, and everyone came to this realization is like, hey man, your shit's up. Time's up. You're going to work with us or you're not. Okay, let's pick out the scapegoats. Okay, we can go after, eugenics. We understand that. We can hang that guy. We can do this. Well, but you're talking about aliens. You're talking about aircraft. You're talking about advanced anything. Those guys, we're not gonna hang them.
No, and I mean that's what you're describing is just a historical fact at this point. Like there's famous quotes. Eisenhower even said, before the war was even over, he says, I think we fought the wrong enemy. Churchill came up with
the Bolsheviks in Russia that's why I've touched on it many times. But yeah,
Churchill came up with Operation Unthinkable, which was to immediately rearm the German people and attack the Soviets. Like this idea, we already knew that they were next. We already, and this idea, like, yeah, D-Day was important, but the Russians were going to beat the Germans anyways. Like, the reason Operation Unthinkable didn't go through is because the Allies were not confident, even with rearming a couple 100,000 Germans, that we could beat the Soviet Union.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And
wait, Amelie, where are you? You're from Germany, right? Sorry. She's saying he's here. Where do you live now?
I thought you lived in Argentina.
I mean, does that not kind of?
Yeah, we already did this.
Okay.
We already did this.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
But anyway,
I was intoxicated last episode. Deal with it.
You're intoxicated every episode. Anyways, this also goes into not just
fun.
Operation Artichoke, but Operation Gladio. Like,
yeah,
we were so invested in beating the Soviets that after World War II ended, we immediately started funding these fascists all over Europe to these stay-behind groups, just in case the communists did take over these Europe, because it was a big thing. These communist parties were popping up in all these European countries, and the plan is to activate all these fascist groups that didn't go away and have them fight as insurgents. And of course, dude, there's no way Hitler could have escaped Germany. I mean, there is a way. Like, nothing's 100%, but it is highly unlikely he could have escaped Germany without our assistance. Not even the fact that we would have caught him. Number one, we're coming in from the north and we're coming up through Italy. His own people had tried to kill him several times. If he tried to run away, somebody would have seen him. And you know how much money they probably would have got? You know how much fame they probably would have got? The man who caught Hitler. Like, we know that body wasn't his. So he, of course he had help.
Shelly, don't act like you're that much different than me. All right.
Question has to do with once the program began. I think one of the most shocking things that we've determined is the Operation Midnight Climax that occurred in the early 1950s, 60s, where the CIA had safe houses. And there was, I say, Dr. Kinzer, I mean, this is extremely disturbing behavior that was happening, where you had American citizens who were being lured into these brothels and then dosed with an hallucinogenic and then filmed during their sex acts. Was there anyone prosecuted for these crimes?
No, there have been no prosecutions for any crime related to MKUltra, as far as I know. To me, the remarkable aspect of that Operation Midnight Climax was that there wasn't even the pretense of scientific experimentation. The person watching behind the one-way mirror was a grossly overweight drug officer sitting on a portable toilet and drinking cocktails out of a pitcher. There was nobody there that was a scientist or somebody who understood sexual behavior or human psychology. So there was no science involved.
So it was to get blackmail. Got it.
In it at all.
Yeah.
I can add a little footnote. When I was researching Poisoner in Chief, I came across a document in which one of the officers involved in setting up that program, Operation Midnight Climax, said that Sidney Gottlieb himself used to fly from Washington out to inspect the project regularly and always asked that women be provided for him. So
that was my next question. Do you think that the agents were involved in the sexual encounters?
Well, and could that have actually been the reason why the bordello was opened? There was no prospect of any serious scientific result out of that project, given the personnel who were overseeing it. So that's
a crazy statement. What they're alluding to is the government set up this brothel just for their use, essentially. that.
Yeah, of course. And you don't think that happens all the time?
I'm sure it does, dude. I'm sure it does. It's just crazy, dude. Like, and this was 50 years ago, 70 years ago. It's just gotten worse. Like,
of course, if you don't think they have drug dealers, you don't think they have prostitutes, you don't think they have strip clubs outside of military bases, especially military bases that house special operations. If you don't think everyday people are there watching and listening and reporting,
well, not even
back,
that. What they're saying is this was just for them to have fun. That's all this was for. This was just for them to go there and have a good time.
Yeah. And he talks about some fat dude beating it behind some two-way glass. Yeah. I completely agree, Mateus. He says that, and that's what I've always gotten into. It's like, this is all meticulously combed over, thought of, and like, it's all an operation. But yeah, sorry.
Oh, 100%.
Particularly Gottlieb involved in overseeing Operation Midnight Climax, certainly were able to take advantage of what it offered.
Thank you. And my last question. First, I want to say thank you to Mr. O'Neill. The book Chaos, I checked it out from the Library of Congress. And
why don't you just buy it, you fucking nerd? You're a congressman. He just wanted to say that. Oh, I checked it out from the Library of Congress.
Greatly appreciate your work there. I was intrigued by one of the statements that you made based on your research that the MKUltra program, they were actually successfully able to replace memories. And because of that, I'm wondering if, and Dr. Kinzer, you can chime in if you have any knowledge of this, did the program continue? And do you think that the program in some aspect is still continuing today?
You're asking if the program continued after 1973 when it was halted, supposedly. I honestly, that's a question I'm asked at almost every appearance I do. Is it happening today? Did it continue? I don't know. I can't imagine that it didn't, though, because the technology that they worked to establish over 20, 25 years and spent more money on than any operation the CIA had ever conducted was successful. I imagine it's being used. I have no evidence of it being used, so it's a complete assumption.
I would just add that one of the letters to which Mr. O'Neill referred contains a quote from Mr. Gottlieb saying that these experiments were necessary, quote, in these times. I think it's important to put yourself back in that mindset where the United States felt that it was under such overwhelming threat that the loss of a few lives or a few hundred lives was a small price to pay. Commitment to a great cause is one of the most fundamental justifications for committing immoral acts. And patriotism is among the most noble of causes. It can be twisted and it can be used as an excuse to carry out research under the guise that this is simply research we're doing to protect ourselves against others. And I think that is a mindset that may still be active in some parts of our government.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Madam Chair. My time has expired. I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Burleson. I now recognize myself. Thank you to the witnesses for coming today to testify about MKUltra.
I now recognize myself.
Dr. Janexi, you said you worked for the NIH. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's what we're going to start doing when we want to speak.
Hell yeah, I'm 100% about that.
And you left in 2025?
That is
correct.
correct.
Thank you, Mr. J. I now recognize
noticed
myself.
during your opening statement that you had nothing to say about the content of this hearing being about to be based more on your issues with this administration's attempt to reform and rein in the NIH. Is that a fair assessment of your opening statement?
My opening statement was talking about the destruction of the NIH and cancellation of grants and political control of the NIH.
Would you deny that the NIH had involvement in the funding of the Wuhan lab?
I don't have any knowledge about any funding related to the Wuhan lab.
So are you denying that the NIH?
I'm
Funded
basically
the
here to
Wuhan
talk
lab.
about what's happening right now at the NIH and how
What?
we.
Why are you talking
Ag-
about what's happening right now at the NIH have anything to do with what we're
Nothing.
talking about?
Nothing, dude. This is like Matthias said. She is just here to fucking muddy the water. It is ignorant. This should not be something where we're divided on political lines about. But yet we have this woman here who's to talk. She's to talk about politics and how bad Trump is. We're talking about fucking MKUltra. Like, and granted, I kind of feel bad for her because she's definitely nervous. I don't think she wants to be there, but she's the person who got voted. Like, yeah, you're going.
Yeah, she was probably like, fuck, really?
Yep.
Really should be letting science be driven by scientists and not by politicians.
Well, do you?
Because that's how we fund cures and make health progress.
Well, with all due respect, ma'am, do
Just
you find it
that's
ironic
how
that for
we
years we were told to
fund
trust the
cures
science,
and
and then in the aftermath, we've all found out that most of what we were told during COVID was a complete lie, and it wasn't scientific at all.
The number one thing that I think that we're doing to destroy trust in American science right now is canceling clinical trials. In the middle of those clinical trials, this does incredible harm to the patients who are receiving experimental treatments, and it really destroys the trust that we have in how do we recruit patients for future trials if they are knowing that their trials could just be simply canceled for political reasons.
Right. I don't think anybody up here would deny that there's never been anything good that's come out of the NIH and that you guys have done some good work, but you just brought up trust. Do you think the NIH has a trust problem based on how they handled COVID?
No, I do not. I think that the NIH is beloved by the American people because we know about the
Way to bury yourself.
advances in human health and cancer treatments and heart disease and diabetes and all of the health gains that the research has produced.
Well, I think you're wrong, ma'am. I think the public has a serious mistrust issue with the NIH. Do you deny that the NIH tried to cover up the origin of COVID?
Shit for, but yep.
I'm not here to testify about that. That's not my area of science. I have no knowledge of that.
I hate this woman.
Do you believe that the NIH supported masking and social distancing when there was really no science to support that?
What I'm more concerned about is what's happening right now to destroy the Biomedical Research Institute that has been the envy of the world. And right now we're ceding our leadership in biomedical research to China. That's what's happening right now.
What about covering up harmful side effects of vaccines and the role that the NIH has played in that? What do you have to say about that, ma'am?
The U.S. history of human subjects protection has evolved greatly. Numerous research improprieties from the 50s to the 70s in the United States.
She can't even speak for her fucking self. She's reading this shit. They gave her pre-recorded answers for these questions.
Including the Tuskegee syphilis study, forced Congress to establish formally federally
I'm not asking you about that.
mandated rules.
You know what I'm asking
She's
you
reading
about? I'm asking you
something
about
as
how
an answer to a
NIH
question.
handled COVID.
Look at her look down.
Obviously,
Yes.
this is supposed
Look
to
at
be
her
a
look
hearing
exactly what I
about
said.
MKUltra, but
Yeah,
when you gave your opening
No, I know.
statement, and I don't even know why you were called to this hearing because you didn't offer anything about MKUltra. But since you are
Thank
here
you.
and you're going to defend NIH, I'm going to call you out on it. Do you see now what I'm talking about when you say that the NIH doesn't have integrity problems and trust issues? Did you hear the applause in this room? That should tell you right now that you're pretty tone deaf to what the public thinks about how the NIH handled COVID and the cover up, not only the funding of it, but the cover up involved in the aftermath. Can you acknowledge that?
I'm sorry, that's not my understanding.
Who's
Rebellious
clapping like
claps.
that?
Rebellious
Yeah.
claps.
Thank you. I want to acknowledge Ms. Boebert for the next round of questioning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to
Do they hone in
two of our
on her, though? I
witnesses
hope they
who are here
don't,
to
because
actually
then that
talk
kind of loses me a little.
No, they don't.
on our subject here today.
okay.
Mr. Kinzer,
I just wanted to watch that guy cook her a little bit.
Yeah.
in your book, Poisoner in Chief,
back
you
to
describe how
work.
Project
Thanks, Shelley. Appreciate
MKUltra
you.
was authorized by CIA Director Alan Dulles in April of 1953 as an umbrella program for research into the covert use of biological and chemical materials for mind control and interrogation. What specific geopolitical and intelligence concerns, particularly regarding alleged Soviet and Chinese, quote, brainwashing and Korean War prisoners, drove this authorization? And how did Cindy Gottlieb's unique background and personality and worldwide view shape the program's direction and methods and ethical boundaries?
Let me start by answering your second question about Gottlieb. He was a very different person from all of the other senior CIA officers of that era. Most of them came from silver spoon backgrounds. They went to the same prep schools and the same Ivy League colleges and belonged to the same yacht clubs and worked for the same law firms and international banks. Sidney Gottlieb was the son of Orthodox Jewish refugees from Central Europe. He had a limp.
Of course.
He had a stutter. He went to Hebrew school. He was so different from all of the other officers. And upon reflection, I think this may not have been an accident. I think that people at the CIA understood that whoever had this job was going to be doing some awful, terrible things that would be very bloody, that they might become known, and it might be necessary to blame it all on somebody. And they didn't want to have to blame it all on one of their own.
I know who to blame it on.
So Gottlieb actually became the person on whom everything was blamed. In fact, when he testified in secret here in this in Congress in the 1970s, he complained that there were documents.
I'm getting sick of hearing that. You're testifying to Congress. You're in effect testifying to us, the people. You don't get to do it in secret. I'm sick of that shit.
There's no skiff here, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Say what you mean and own it.
On which various signatures had been redacted, but his alone had remained. So is a way of diverting attention away from the institutional responsibility of the CIA and trying to blame it on one crazy person. As for the international situation at the time, I think it's very important to understand this because there is a sort of a parallel to today. The CIA misinterpreted several key incidents in the world, including those to which you referred, the trial of the Cardinal Mindszenty, and then in Hungary, and then the return of Korean War prisoners. Neither of those episodes really had to do with mind control, but in the CIA, they were interpreted that way. And this gave the CIA a reason to pretend that its research was purely defensive. So I think when you consider the world situation and the sense in Washington that we're surrounded by enemies, that becomes a very dangerous environment. Conspiracy theories stem from the growth of the covert sphere. There's a great contradiction in American life that we pretend to uphold certain principles at home and abroad, but it's evident to many Americans that we actually operate in opposition to those principles.
100%.
And we operate by secret and anti-democratic means. That contributes to suspicion of government. And the very existence of MKUltra proves that some of the wildest fantasies about secret government research are actually close to reality. That makes the paranoid mindset seem ever more rational.
Thank you. And I'm going to have to cut off several of my questions now, but that was very intriguing, so I wanted you to continue. MKUltra ultimately encompassed at least 149 sub-projects involving more than 80 institutions, universities, hospitals, prisons, pharmaceutical companies, often funded through cutout foundations to conceal CIA sponsorship. Can you detail how these funding and operational security mechanisms worked in practice? And then just another subset, if I don't get back to asking a question.
Sleepy K's on the job.
The CIA CIA or government or any of these entities ever
late than
say
never.
that what they were doing with MKUltra and mind control were productive or for the betterment of humanity? Did they ever make those claims? Thank you.
As for your second question, I'm not aware, other than in private communications, that the CIA ever claimed that it had made great advances under MKUltra, because it largely denied that MKUltra ever existed. As for the foundations, yeah, these are, Sidney Gottlieb created a couple of bogus foundations. They're called cutouts in CIA slang. And these are foundations that appear to be independent, but actually are fully funded and controlled by the CIA. It was those foundations that approached hospitals and clinics and asked them to become involved in research, particularly into LSD. So many of the institutions where these experiments took place did not even realize that those foundations were actually covers for the CIA.
Thank you very much. And Madam Chair, I yield.
Thank you. I now recognize.
Anything you want to hit on before we move on?
Not really. It's just as much as it's very interesting. Let me slow. I've been drinking a little. I'm a little distracted. As much as it's all like hearing it said is kind of like, whoa, okay, well, you know. It's still, I mean, this is better than the UFO files. I'll say that.
And we have less documents.
Exactly. This is way, excuse me, sorry, drinking beer. Way better than the UFO files. But at the same time, it's just like, for people in our circle, and I think you can agree with this, we're kind of saying the same thing, like, okay. You know what I mean? But to hear it is another one. But at the same time, that makes me pull back and be suspicious that this is just another. Does that make sense? And that's kind of why I'm kind of like, and kind of like, okay, this is interesting. Like,
I'm not really suspicious of it. I'm more interested. It just makes me interested in the shit they don't know about. Like that's really what it comes down to.
And that's what I mean. Like, we want to see the unredacted. We want to see all this stuff, but like, we're gonna get this surface level shit, and are we ever gonna get the answer? Are we ever gonna get real answers? Are we ever gonna get real? Like, this is good. This is good. I'll say this is cool to hear, and it's good. But like,
what's up, Mark? No,
hey,
and I mean,
Iowa,
it is good because, as we've seen in the chat, there are people who didn't even know what MKUltra was. So
no. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
Representative Mace from South Carolina for 5 minutes.
Thank you so much. Dr. Janexi, you work with the NIH, correct?
Nope, not interested. We're
No,
skipping this question.
I'm no longer. I'm a research psychologist.
He was going to be a whistleblower. He worked at the CIA. He worked.
Crazy? Did they? I think if the.
Do you think we're still experimenting on prison?
Happening to the NIH right now.
You're not here to testify about MKUltra?
I am not an MKUltra expert.
Why did the Dems send you here if you're not an MKUltra expert?
But I am an expert in human subjects protection, which is related.
I feel bad for that
and
woman.
in the conduct of human subjects research.
I would say so. She
Okay.
was left
but
out,
you don't know
out
anything about
there.
MKUltra,
Matthias
which
said
is the
it earlier,
purpose
to
of
burn
this
time,
hearing.
and she's just like, what?
All right, so
like,
I have a couple questions for our witnesses who are here to talk about MKUltra, and thank you, gentlemen, Dr. Kinzer and Mr. O'Neill. What are some of the worst abuses that you're aware of in the MKUltra program?
I can start by just naming, I'll talk about one in particular that always sticks in my mind. In the federal prison in Lexington, Kentucky, a group of African-American inmates was segregated and fed what were described in the protocol as double, triple, and quadruple doses of LSD every day for 77 days.
Did they all survive?
We have no idea what
Okay.
happened to them. This has stuck with me ever since I wrote that book. What happened to them? Did they ever find out what was given to them? Did they think they were going crazy? Did they? I think if the
Do you think we're still experimenting on
Uh.
prisoners or people in prison today?
Hell yes.
Yes.
I don't have any information about that.
Okay.
I'm hoping there'll be another book about what's
Mr.
happening
O'Neill,
now.
what are some of the worst abuses in MKUltra?
There were many. The Frank Olson case, which was referenced earlier, that was a murder. I don't believe that was a suicide. And the motivation was because he was going to be a whistleblower. He worked at the CIA. He worked in the development of biological weapons, and he was planning to go public and announce that the United States government was using biological weapons in the Korean War. And also he was going to share what he knew about MKUltra experiments, including lethal experiments. And there's a documented case.
How many, gentlemen, how many people do you think died through the MKUltra
Gentlemen.
program or were murdered?
No idea.
If those who died largely were outside the United States, many people were experimented to death in that safe house in Germany that I visited. And people in the
He
neighborhood
said it
told me
again,
they knew what was
experimented
going
to
on in
death.
that house.
That's a
And the
crazy
people
term.
who were
It is. And he said it was from that safe house in Germany that was, started up right after World War II.
And I asked that question earlier, Mark. Was that at the very beginning of the episode I asked was, do you think, especially when it goes to the superpowers, us, China, Russia, Israel at this point, I guess, or even any country on the level of research that they have tested on their own people? And I think they do. I think that's just another person, especially when it comes to, undesirables, homeless, criminals, you name it.
Yeah.
Of course they're being tested on. Of course they're, what can they say? Yeah, you're a prisoner. You're a psychiatric patient. He, she, they're crazy. We didn't do anything to them. So yeah.
Matthias said that much acid for a prolonged time is going to turn you into the emperor of mankind.
Just sitting with all these things stuck into your head, you're on the throne.
Not even that. Quadruple doses of acid for 77 days. If you weren't crazy before, you're sure as fuck crazy now.
Hell yeah, brother. Let's go.
experimented to death are now buried in what used to be forest plots that are now covered over.
Do you think
with
the German
apartments.
government knew what the U.S. government was doing? Do you think there was a partnership there or knowledge?
Yes. There is a memo that was written by the German Secret Service to Konrad Adenauer, the Chancellor of Germany, telling him Americans are here capturing citizens, capturing people and conducting extreme experiments, which are in violation of German law. And
that's crazy. They're capturing people. They're snatching people. That is wild. Like, that is incredible. Like, I've never heard this before about this German fucking hell house. I've never heard this shit before.
How can we chill out about Germany right now?
Yeah. Like, and granted, this was done by us with the help of Germans in Germany, but
Adenauer decided to put that aside and not to
I
investigate.
have one more
further.
question because I have 15 seconds. Is this a massive cover-up by the U.S. government?
of course it is.
It's certainly a cover-up of what happened in the past.
Mr. O'Neill?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Thank you, and I yield back.
Thank you, Representative Mace. I now recognize Mr. Perry from Pennsylvania for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks to the witnesses for being here. To Dr. Kinzer and Mr. O'Neill, I want to focus on the information that we do have and things of that nature. Do we know of, can you name the locations, say the prisons, the hospitals, other institutions, and the cutouts as you described, either one of you folks described them, that would be familiar to us or the American people? Can you name these?
Yeah, if I could begin just by saying, at the end of the 1977 hearings, Senator Ted Kennedy and Senator Daniel Inouye, who were the co-chairs, demanded that there be an investigation to find out who were the perpetrators, where were the experiments conducted, and most importantly, to locate victims, compensate them, notify them, because many didn't even know they'd been experimented on, and give them lifetime medical care. President Jimmy Carter and Attorney General Griffin Bell said the federal government will begin an investigation. That never happened.
I met
Instead,
Jimmy
the
Carter.
CIA created something called the...
I did not, on purpose.
Yeah, you wouldn't come.
Correct.
Correct.
Correct. Why would I want to meet him?
Was he the
Known
one
as-
who cried when he
Yes.
got given a brief?
Yep, that was Jimmy Carter.
You know, synchronicities. Go ahead. Sorry.
Victims Task Force to investigate itself. It was a two-man investigation to locate victims, and they only look for people who had been experimented on in the safe houses. They completely, because I interviewed both of them before they passed away, they completely avoided institutional experimental programs at the hospitals. And you're asking about the hospitals, the Oklahoma City Hospital, Lackland Air Force Base Hospital, Lexington Addiction Center, which Dr. Kinzer referred to, the Holmesburg Prison, Vacaville Prison, universities all over the country, Yale, Ivy League universities. None of those records there was a criminal investigation was also supposed to start into Gottlieb's destruction of the records. That had been announced by the Justice Department. And I interviewed Griffin Bell and asked him what happened to all those investigations and what happened to all those efforts to locate victims. He said it just must have fallen through the cracks.
So it was the DOJ that was supposed to
The
investigate.
DOJ, the Department of Justice, and they just kept passing it off and passing it off.
Do you know if the DOJ and their investigation visited the places that you've named?
No, absolutely not. From
wait, hold on a second. They didn't, or you don't know?
Oh, no. I asked the two men who did the investigation, and they said all we did was look into what happened at the safe houses in San Francisco and New York City in 1962.
So is it possible that information and documentation remains at the prisons, the treatments
Again, the CIA should not be running safe houses in America.
centers, the universities where these things were conducted? Is that possible?
Yeah, well, I found Dr. West's records at UCLA in his file. Hospital records are really hard to get because of HIPAA laws.
I got a
And
pee,
prison
I'm
records,
listening.
the Bureau of Prisons do have a lot. So yeah, it is possible. There's still documents buried places.
What were the average ages, if you know, of the people that were experimented on? Were these children? Were these middle-aged? Were they?
Well, there were adolescent studies done in juvenile detention facilities and jails with kids who were 16, 17, 18 years old, and at institutional schools for wayward kids. The National Training School for Boys here in Washington, D.C. had them. So it ranged from, I think, adolescent, pre-adolescent, through any age.
If you could describe, either one of you, the number of potential victims, if you could hazard a guess.
There were 149 programs that we know of that were subcontracted outside of
149 separate programs.
So yeah, outside. And that's what we know of. Again, everything we know of is minuscule compared to what was really going on. So, I mean, that could have been into the tens of thousands. And I believe that's another reason.
Yeah, I think that's an important part is the 149 programs are from the accidental misfiled documents, not from all the shit they burned. Like, that just tells me that's the little shit. That's the safe stuff, the safe, dangerous stuff. Like that, it's the stuff people weren't worried about enough to label it correctly. That's what that means to me. Oh, I completely agree, Mateus. There's no way it didn't ramp up after the success they had. You would be an idiot to think that this shit just stopped. Why would they stop? Nobody got charged. Nobody went to prison for doing this stuff.
Well, and that's the thing I keep saying is that it was just rebranded, and certain avenues of research were abandoned, right? We moved away from LSD. We moved away from these other things, and now we learn that we can do this through another approach. So we changed the name because now we're abandoning LSD, mind control, when it comes to drugs, and now we're moving towards a different thing, name change.
Yep.
I think it's just the approach has changed. The same thing is going on. And now they can affect us on a much larger scale than select few that we need to give LSD. Now we can do it through
to the mass population.
Yep.
And that nothing was pursued, because if those people were compensated, it could have bankrupted.
Has there been any recent attempt to find, locate, identify victims of this?
Not that I know of.
I would just add that there's been considerable progress in this regard in Canada. There was MKUltra research going on at a psychiatric hospital in Canada, and the Canadian government has made a real effort to try to find out who the victims were, and also to compensate them and to provide them with medical treatment. So if we're looking for an example of a place where it was done better, even though it was on a much smaller scale, Canada would be a place to look.
So other than embarrassment to the federal government, maybe agencies involved, and particular individuals who are probably likely deceased at this point, what is the reason for the mass redaction of the information that we do have? Has any reasoning been given?
Shame?
I'm sorry?
Shame?
That's what I'm saying, other than embarrassment, but I think it stands to reason that probably the individuals involved in conducting and authorizing this activity are probably all deceased.
Sure.
At this point. Is there any reason to believe otherwise?
No.
I make those arguments in my FOIA requests, but it doesn't get me anywhere. I don't know about you, Dr. Kinzer.
All right, my time's expired. I'll give him.
Thank you, Representative.
I think that's another important piece to hit on too. And it's the same thing with the JFK files. Almost everybody who would be involved with that shit is dead, or old enough to where the chances are they wouldn't go to prison anyways. Like, why is this shit still redacted? Yeah. Hey, what's up, Olivia? Thanks for joining. Oh, 100% AI plays a big portion of this. You see it already. What do they call it? Where people, I forget the term for it. It's like AI psychosis or something like that.
Well, even on another scale, that it's like, even people who are more critical of it, right? What is it doing to us? What it's doing to us is making us approach things as, is this real or is it not real? Can I trust this? Anything you see is now, let me look a little, let me replay this. And it's only going to get better, and it's only going to breed that further in people. So that's a whole nother method of control. And that's a whole another method of, oh, this is fake. Excuse me, I'm gonna spit. This isn't
plays
real.
into
That
the deniability.
This isn't real. That was AI, but it was real, and it gets to the point where we can't tell the difference, right? So now, I think it's just another method that they're learning, and through these, and I think this could be part of it, right? These releases, UFOs, MKUltra, all this stuff is just another fucking thing in the line of, we're giving it to you right in front of your face. What the fuck you going to do about it? Not only that, now we can use it to control you, because you're going to question things that are real now. Now you're going to see something in front of your face that is real, and you're going to say, well, wait a minute, that might be fake.
Yeah.
Now we're completely lost.
And the shitty thing is, too, one thing that upset me listening to that is when he said Canada has been having success finding these victims of this stuff. So we know it can be done. If Canada can do it, you can't tell me we can't do it. It's just that our intelligence agencies are significantly more corrupt, significantly more empowered to where they will not allow it to happen. And and here's the thing is they'll just write these people off as crazy. We see it all the time. There's been people who have written books about being experimented by the MKUltra, and they're always just written off as these crazy people, or they have some psychotic ailment or something like that. And it's by design. It's to where we don't believe them. Like, these victims are out there. They have told their stories. Sorry, I keep wiping my nose. My allergies have been messing up lately. All right, let's keep watching.
Representative Perry, I'm now going to go to a second line of questions. So I'll be recognizing myself, followed by, I believe, Representative Bober and either of the representatives if they'd like to join in. I wanted to elaborate further, Dr. Kinzer, on what you had stated about potentially there being bodies, the locations, Germany, because I'm going to reach out to the German government after this to get the ball rolling on that, if that is indeed the case. Can you just elaborate further on what you were hearing from people in that area, what they were saying, and then also to potential locations of bodies?
First of all, the memo that Chancellor Adenauer received is on the record. You can find that memo warning that these operations are going on. I did speak to people who lived in that area, and they all understood. Some of them had cooperated with an investigation by a German magazine, Der Spiegel, that called that house the CIA torture center. And in that article, it said there were deaths, but the number is not known. So it was a secret to us.
The number is
but what
not
we
known.
were doing in that house was really not even a secret to the people in the neighborhood. It reminds me of the bombing of Cambodia. It was a secret to us, but if you were living in Cambodia, you would have known about it. So I think there is fruitful ground for research looking into what happened in Germany and seeing what can be found out about these hugely destructive and devastating projects that were essentially systematic torture going on in this house and who knows how many others.
Just to confirm too, when you found the initial transcripts with the Chancellor or correspondence, was there a response from the U.S. government to the Germans?
No, the U.S. government would possibly have advised Adenauer not to pursue it, but I don't think Adenauer would have even need to be told that. He would see it, he would understand his close partnership with the United States made it impossible for him to criticize anything the U.S. was doing. Don't forget, this was not so long after the end of the Second World War.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is Germany they were not in any situation to negotiate with us about anything. And that's why they were doing it over there. We had free access to do whatever we wanted. And I'm sure this shit was happening in Japan too. Like Germany was split up between the Allies. The same thing with Japan. Germany, they had no say so. This chancellor knew about it. What was he going to do? Go to the fucking UN? Hey, America's conducting illegal experiments. Shut the fuck up. Like we'll just call you a fascist, and then you can go to the Nuremberg trials.
Yep.
So no, there was no effort by the United States ever to reveal anything about what happened in Germany. And in fact, one of the FOIA requests that I made that was never fulfilled, and one that I would urge you to pursue, is what was Sidney Gottlieb doing during 2 years in Germany? He went to Germany and went to live there as a case officer. I was never able to find out what did he do during 2 years in Germany. There were huge numbers of MKUltra experiments going on in Germany, including a number that were fatal. That would be a very interesting catch of documents to find.
We will definitely be following up. My next question would be for either Dr. Kinzer or Mr. O'Neill. Declassified CIA records have revealed that officers deployed overseas have used USAID funding as an official cover, or USAID as an official cover for operational work that had nothing to do with the mission of USAID, i.e. humanitarian aid, medical relief, etc. In some cases, CIA officers operated under USAID cover engaged in lethal activity in places such as Vietnam, running assassination missions during the war in country from 1965 to 1975. And since MKUltra seems to have found its origin in drug experiments conducted on prisoners overseas, and first by the SS in Nazi Germany and then by US intelligence in camps captured from the Germans, do you believe that USAID may have been used overseas to and further influence or further the MKUltra, for example, on prisoners of war. Since part of USAID's mission was to administer drugs to the poor and needy populations, would the organization have abused its mandate by poisoning foreign populations or creating disassociated states for interrogation or torture?
I can't speak directly to AID, but it's certainly true that during this period, after the Second World War, the United States was using publicly announced and official U.S. government agencies to carry out covert action. We now know, for example, that 5% of all of the money appropriated for the Marshall Plan was diverted for covert activities. A number of U.S. agencies were used as cover by covert operatives, and that AID could have been one of them sounds very likely to me.
And the NIMH admitted to allowing itself to be used for covert funding of MKUltra experiments in the 1970s when.
Oh, shit. Did you hear that?
That was during the era of benign neglect. That was during the era
but
of where
the NIH lady didn't have nothing to say.
Of
She
course
wasn't there
not.
to talk about
She didn't know.
MKUltra.
Let's be honest. She didn't know what the fuck was going on. She was sent there as a sacrificial mule to just burn time. Like,
No, she does need to take some type of ownership about this. It's not like she was called yesterday. I've known that this hearing was coming for over a month now. So,
and they talk a lot about it, but they're talking about covert, but they're not talking about clandestine. And there's a big difference. There's a big difference there. There's like,
I'll play it back.
I mean, but the thing is, they're still not talking about clandestine. And because obviously that's that's the stuff that's still protected. Like clandestine is an operation that's focused on the hiding of the operation itself.
You're
You're
not under official cover.
No.
Stuff like that. That's official cover.
That's covert. That's covert. Covert is hiding the sponsor. Clandestine is hiding the operation entirely. And you notice they never speak about clandestine operations. So like clandestine.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm not sure I understand.
So there's a difference between clandestine and covert. Clandestine operation, you're hiding the operation itself. You're making it completely invisible. There was never an operation. We went in here, manipulated a foreign government. The operation never happened. The manipulation never happened. This was all, it happened naturally, right? That's what clandestine is. Covert, all covert is saying, we went in there. We're not hiding that something happened. All we're hiding is who was the sponsor of this activity. Okay, you don't know if it was Russia, the U.S. There's something happened in a covert operation, right? We know something happened. A president got killed. Not a president of our country for just what we're talking about, right? Like someone went in and a dictator got killed. Okay, we know he was assassinated, but we don't know who did it. Covert. Clandestine is he died of natural causes, but he didn't. That's the difference.
All right, so there's no paper trail. Is that the difference? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean, obviously, if you were to go into, and I'm pretty sure, yeah, on the government scale, there probably is no paper trail. And that's part of a clandestine operation, is that like everything is erased. If you get captured, you're dead. It doesn't matter. And the same goes to covert too. Like we can't have you connected to the United States.
Right.
Or whatever the case may be. But that's the difference between covert and clandestine. Clandestine is the operation never happened.
Mm-hmm.
Clandestine is going in on the deepest level of manipulation, whether it's killing someone or not. On the deepest level, no trace. We were never here. No operation ever happened. Covert is, yes, an operation happened. There is a paper trail or whatever, but you can't trace it back to us. You can't trace it. You can't trace it back to a source. Does that make more sense? They're both secretive.
Not really. Not to me. I'm an idiot though. You're better to speak about this than I am, just because of the people.
I don't know
By the way,
another way to put it. 25. Yeah, I appreciate all you guys say.
You're good. You're good. You explained it. So, but yeah, we got 23 people watching right now. If you guys could subscribe, maybe hit the reactions, drop in the comments. I'm gonna back this up real quick. So, bro, I don't know how long you've been in here, but there's this lady here. She's from the NIH, and she's not here to talk about MKUltra at all. She's just been wasting everybody's time, and she's saying she's here to talk about bullshit. And she was called out by a couple of the congressmen. Who's like, "Why are you here? Do you know anything about MKUltra?" And she says no. So I'll rewind it here, but Mr. O'Neill clearly says is that CIA uses the NIH as cover. We'll have to watch a little bit, but I'm just going to back it up to here.
On prisoners of war. Since part of USAID's mission was to administer drugs to the poor and needy populations, would the organization have abused its mandate by poisoning foreign populations or creating disassociated states for interrogation or torture?
I can't speak directly to AID, but it's certainly true that during this period, after the Second World War, the United States was using publicly announced and official U.S. government agencies to carry out covert action. We now know, for example, that 5% of all of the money appropriated for the Marshall Plan was diverted for covert activities. A number of U.S. agencies were used as cover by covert operatives, and that AID could have been one of them sounds very likely to me.
And the NIMH admitted to allowing itself to be used for covert funding of MKUltra experiments in the 1970s when the operation was disclosed.
Thank you. I now recognize Representative Burchett for 5 minutes.
Oh, shit. Big Burchett.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Thank you all for being here.
Big Burchett.
I remember when all the talk about MKUltra broke, and then they were talking about lawsuits, and there were lawsuits, and the CIA and the federal government said that this didn't exist, and then they came back and said, well, it does exist, and then, but we're not doing it anymore. I guess my question to y'all first is, which lie do we believe? Because thank you. Obviously, there was an open bar before this thing started, so thank y'all. But Dr. Kinzer?
Friend of the show.
Hit your mic, brother. You're not on the mic. It's old CIA trick.
I put myself in the place of one of those senior CIA officers, and I'm thinking to myself, like the ones back in the 1950s, well, other people must be doing this. We'd be falling behind if we don't do it. And nobody's looking over our shoulders. And that, I think, is your job. So I think there is a definite air of urgency and total secrecy. If any current research is going on, and if it's conducted in any comparable level of secrecy to the original MKUltra, it's very deeply secret.
But one thing you said, though, it's going to be hard for Congress to act when they're so dadgum compromised. Let's just be honest.
Daggone.
Y'all are in the business of twisting ears and telling us things that we've done, and that sways a lot of people up here. Somebody doesn't want to wreck a marriage or their business or lose this glamorous job that we have.
What I always talk
and
on.
so I suspect that has a lot of play into it. Sorry to interrupt you. I apologize.
All I mean to say is that I think if there are such projects going on inside the U.S. government, there might be a sense that we can do this without any hostile supervision.
What are the possibilities that what we've learned in MKUltra now that it has advanced so much to
hostile supervision? The verbiage there confuses me a little, but you know, I think a lot of it is they're still using MKUltra. We're past that. In my view of this all, is don't even talk about MKUltra when you talk about current day. They changed the name, completely different thing in total.
Yeah, but I
know,
think that's the
still,
point of it. They have no framework of where to look or what it's called because they killed it.
Of course.
So
Yeah.
all
Yeah,
they
yeah,
have
yeah.
is MKUltra.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not really talking too badly upon it. It's just that they keep going back to it. And it's just like, dude, it's not that anymore. Treat
Right,
it
and
as
that's
something different completely.
and that's what he's saying is like you got to look for the modern equivalent. Like it's not.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
There's not. You're not going to find a file or whatever, a USB drive that says MKUltra 2019. Like that, you're not going to find that. It's going to be some obscure program, probably ran at some institution or some freaking. I'm just going to play the video before I get in a rant because I was about to go off on a rant.
Algorithms and the computer and getting to loners that some of these loners could, through this just mass propagation of whatever you're doing, could cause someone to maybe take a shot at a president.
I know there's a lot of speculation out there about the Butler shooting, and I guess even the Charlie Kirk shooting. I just hate to speculate because I don't know. I have no firsthand knowledge whether those guys were programmed through radio waves or through their computer activity. So I would never hazard a guess except to say what I've already said, that they developed means that we've never been told about many, many years ago, and I imagine they've evolved to be much more effective now. So
let me interrupt you one more time, and I apologize again. But don't you think that they could cast this broad net through these algorithms and other things, and maybe they don't know the exact person it's going to affect, but they know what type of person it's going to affect, and they know it's going to happen, and that way they can't predict when it's going to happen, but they think it will happen, and then that way they can sort of wash their hands of this whole thing and say, well, we didn't have anything to do with it, but in effect, they really did because they put this out there and they continue to put it out there. To what other method you're talking about? Go ahead, guys. I'm sorry. Ma'am, if you want to jump in.
She's with NIH.
Okay. Doctor, go ahead.
It sounds to me like you're describing something like the Martin Luther King assassination. The FBI didn't carry it out, but it created such a climate just denouncing King as the most dangerous man in America and putting out all this material about how he was helping communists that they must have thought it's going to filter down. Somebody will take action, and then we can say we didn't have anything to do with it.
And James Earl Ray was a third-rate thief. He made an incredible shot, 1 foot on a commode, 1 foot in a bathtub, leaning out of a window, basically. And the next day, or that afternoon, all the shrubbery was cut in front of the flop house he was staying in. There's a lot on that one that will never be discussed. I have some friends that were there, so I guess I'm on pretty close to firsthand knowledge. But yeah, I'm sorry. I'm probably going to get audited when I walk out of the room. I know it. So thank you. Chair Lady, I yield back my 4 seconds.
Thank you, Rep. Burchett. I would like to now recognize Representative Boebert for 5 minutes.
Thank you. And I would love to let you gentlemen just talk some here. But when we're bringing up operations like Naomi and MKUltra, there's Operation Mockingbird that was going on at the same time as MKUltra. And it really ties into what Congressman Burchett was talking about with radio waves, where we have these like a Venn diagram of individual people and the military casting a broader net. So you have the radio waves, computer activity, the Operation Mockingbird, the programming that is taking place. So what do you see in relation to what was happening then and what we are seeing now that could be types of the same kind of programs and even using direct energy weapons or the like?
Oh, here we
Mr.
go.
O'Neill, you can begin.
I would just like to say one thing. There was an objective outlined in the early proposals for MKUltra to do experimentation to see whether they could do mass conversion, convert entire populations. I think that had something to do with the France incident that you were talking about earlier. Again, today it's all speculation, but back then they were trying to use psychological means to see how you could influence people's thoughts. And Mockingbird played into that, which if people don't know, that was where they had CIA assets or co-opted people in the media who would write basically propaganda and try to control the thoughts and beliefs of the population to what the CIA needed. And is it still going on today? I would be surprised if it wasn't.
Sure, I think we saw it even during COVID with all of the NIH funding that went to COVID and the Wuhan lab and then everything that came out of that, trying to make people believe in something that wasn't there. Dr. Kinzer, do you have anything on this?
I would say only that in the modern age, maybe radio waves and drugs are not necessary to control people's minds. We have such a great advertising, propaganda, press, social media collaboration that certain opinions are marginalized and real debate is frustrated because people are not given access to full amounts of information. So that's a way of controlling the minds of populations. It doesn't even require sophisticated electronic or psychopharmacological means.
Anything else you'd like to add for our next 2 minutes here? That we haven't, maybe you have
I think it was above
questions we
that,
haven't asked.
Belcher.
I would just like to reiterate something that I said in response to your earlier question, and that is that there's a reason why conspiracy theories are so widespread in America. It has to do with the disassociation between what we say we are and do and what we really are and do. This has become more and more clear to more and more people. Therefore, they're suspicious of nefarious dealings by the U.S., and they're also suspicious of other things that aren't nefarious at all. But there's just this mentality that is created by the covert sphere. And that is what makes people realize that things that used to seem really far-fetched are not so far-fetched after all.
Yes, well, Congress, we create these agencies and we even provide their funding. We appropriate that funding, and then they come before us often and are too big to even answer simple questions that we have and be held to account. So it does cause for a lot of deceit, a lot of doubt in the American people, and certainly within us as members of Congress when these agencies refuse to answer to us, the branch of government that actually creates them and provides their funding. And then, of course, the American taxpayer whose money is being stolen to fund all of their programs.
Yep.
I think that's the big thing, and that's the big thing we're seeing, right? That there's some refusal to answer to it, and there's some maybe gray area or where it's aligned in the governmental structure to where they don't have to answer for it. We talked about it earlier that, they just strolled up and, took shit and disappeared.
100%.
That's just the shit that slipped through. Imagine the shit that
got burnt.
That got burnt. Exactly. In shorter terms. And it goes into the thing that I always say that, people like to think that the U.S. government, that, our government, I think as people, we're great people. I think anyone who comes here sees that, we're kind at the root of things. There's some bad people. There's bad people everywhere. But the government isn't all good. Like, we haven't gotten the power we've gotten. We haven't changed how the world is by solely being good. No, we haven't. And sometimes, it goes into that saying, I'm probably going to say it wrong, but like, for evil to win, it takes a good man to do nothing.
Yeah.
So some of it, I think, kind of leans into that side of thought, but some of it definitely doesn't. Some of it is definitely, when it comes to boosting our economy, the running joke is oil. You know, it goes into oil. It's not all good, and our country hasn't been all good. And when it goes into maintaining control, and you go back through history, it's never all good. You don't maintain a level of control. You don't maintain a level of intimidation through being just, you know, little angels sitting on a stoop. You don't. Even if you're giving money and giving aid to all these countries, it still doesn't matter. If you're soft, if you're weak, you're still going to get taken advantage of. And I think people see that on the surface level because of our military might. But I think there's such a deeper level when it goes into covert and clandestine of shit that we've done that it's like, okay, no, there's deeper levels of other governments, you know, China,
well, you have to not want to, you have to
places like
not
that
want to see it at this point.
that are like, nah, man, we're good. We're like, we've seen what they can, we're good. Nope, I don't want the smoke type shit. So I just said type shit. Ew.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. We'll just let this play out.
Sorry. Yeah.
And agencies. So I think that would be another reason how these conspiracy theories grow, because government has grown so big it won't answer to the people. Maybe they just think the people are too dumb to understand, but certainly we want
what I said all along.
People, and I appreciate you gentlemen for being here today. Madam Chair, I yield.
Thank you, Representative Boebert. Representative Burleson, do you have any further questions? Okay, I now recognize Representative Burleson for 5 minutes.
Mr. O'Neill, going back to Charles Manson and the Helter Skelter incident, can you explain how in the world someone who is an illiterate musician that seemed to be not exactly the brightest person somehow became a cult leader and was able to
he's going back to that.
inspire all of these individuals to do crazy things?
Unfortunately, I spent 20 years trying to find out how that happened. And what I was able to prove was that from the moment Manson was released from federal prison in 1967, he violated his parole, went to the Bay Area without permission, and was immediately put under the supervision of a federal parole officer who basically gave him leniency as he gathered his group of followers, gave them drugs, dominated them, turned them into more or less subservient robots who would do anything he said. All that happened under the watchful eye of a parole officer named Roger Smith, who was also doing drug research at the same clinic that Jolly.
That's an alias. Roger
of course,
Smith.
Yeah, of course it is. And of course this was all guided. This was all there was previous research, and they said, all right, here's our it kind of to me seems either it was to kill the hippie movement, kill, you know, people loving each other. I'm a violent hippie, I will say myself. Like, I think we're all equal. I think we need to put all this bullshit aside, but you know, you cross me, I'll peel the skin off your face. Like, that's who I am as a person.
You're a good guy. You're a nice guy. You're a teddy.
Oh yeah. But I think it maybe was to the point where it's like, all right, this is our real world. And not only that, because it goes into that whole time where there was this serial killer boom. There was this all 100%. This shit happen, and it just seemed to all come out. And maybe that goes into sleeper cell type shit where they just fucking, I hate saying type shit because I never knew what that meant until
seems like you
know a year ago. But it plays into what I'm saying is that there was a bunch of these subjects, and in that time frame towards the end of MKUltra, there was this push out. All right, here's our real world. Whether it's activation words, whether it's just someone we've trained and now letting them out into the public. We had, you know, the Boston Strangler. We had
Son of Sam.
Son of Sam. Who was the one in El Paso? The other guy from California. We had so many from, you know, the 60s into the early 80s or before the 80s, but we had all these
100%.
serial killers just explode. And
Yeah.
it became a phenomenon, almost a cult following in America. Was all these serial killers was here, look, here. And what, maybe that's all by design, or maybe that was
Or
just
it's a byproduct.
Exactly. Maybe that's just MKUltra doing their final test. Push them all out. Let them free. Let them go. And
Yeah,
all
let's
these
see what
dudes
happens
just-
when they go back to society.
Yep.
Yep.
And all these dudes just started killing. So, sorry. Again.
West
No,
had
you're
set
good.
up his
That was a good-
operation
good
to
point.
recruit subjects. All the way until 1969, when Manson finally ordered the murders that he was later convicted of. He had been arrested repeatedly for escalating crimes, beginning with petty thievery, stealing cars, and then rape, attempted murder, drug possession. Each time, not only wasn't he prosecuted, his parole wasn't violated. So the federal government, in some capacity, enabled him to do what he did and flourish until these crimes happened. And in my book, I make a case, and it's a theoretical case,
Don't plug your
that
book,
it was part of an operation called Chaos, also with the CIA, that we haven't talked about today because it really doesn't have anything to do with drug research, but it was created to neutralize what the government believed was a revolution that was happening in America in the 60s, beginning with the anti-war movement and then the black militancy movement and the Panthers. So it's kind of a big stew of a cauldron of possibilities, and Manson,
the hippie movement,
emerged from all that when I don't think he should have.
Yeah, it's fascinating that you have an individual, Jolly West, who was working with this parole officer. You think the parole officer was making the connection so that the drugs were then flowing through?
Well, the parole officer was at the same time he was supervising Manson's parole, running a research project called the Amphetamine Research Project out of that clinic. And that was studying amphetamines and violence and drugs and group behavior and gangs in the Bay Area.
And it goes into that era
I hate
of
to
benign
speculate.
neglect.
I know it sounds like a cop-out.
It does.
But when you see the tentacles that cross paths with Manson when he got to Los Angeles as well, I believe that he was he was manipulated and at the very least given freedom to do what he did while he was being observed.
And then the same individual, Jolly West, ends up in Oklahoma, correct? So that's where he was operating out of Oklahoma during this time with Mr.
When he
Manson?
contracted with the CIA, he was at Lackland Air Force Base. He was a chief psychiatrist at the hospital, so he began his experiments there.
Me too, Joe Buck. Me too.
A year after
Luckily.
the letter that I quoted in my statement where he was describing what he wanted to do, a year later on July 3rd, 1954, a 3-year-old girl was abducted and found later in a gravel pit, murdered and next to a car that had been abandoned. And the search party that found the little girl's body was approached by a man who was an airman at the base, and he asked them where he was and how he had gotten there. He was arrested for the murder and described by the military officers who had him in custody as being in a trance or daze. He didn't have any drugs in his system. He didn't recognize his wife when she was brought to see him. And at his trial, where Jolly West was his advising psychiatrist who examined him,
Of course.
it emerged that
Jolly
he
West,
had
definitely
actually
a
been
fake
being
name.
treated at the hospital at Lackland in an experimental program to cure his chronic debilitating migraine headaches. And he was executed 4 years later.
And then years later, he ends up volunteering to handle the Jack Ruby.
West does, yeah.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
So just before we wrap up, is it in your expert opinion that Jack Ruby and Manson were assets of the intelligence agency specifically pertaining to MKUltra? Were they MKUltra victims?
Yeah, theoretically, Manson, I've never been able to prove absolutely. Jack Ruby, I believe this is something else. The Warren Commission investigation on the Warren Commission was Alan Dulles, the former CIA director, who authorized and ran MKUltra until he was fired by President Kennedy. The liaison to the committee for the CIA, who handled the information coming from the CIA back and forth to the Warren Commission, was Richard Helms, who was a direct supervisor of Jolly West. They knew who West was. They knew that what West was capable of and what they had paid him to do and what he had reported to them that he could do, including inducing mental disorders in people. That was never disclosed to the commission as far as anyone knows. So I believe that West was put in there to keep Jack Ruby from telling his story.
Wow. In closing, I just want to thank you all for being here today. And we will be following up, Dr. Kinzer, on your request to fully redact. I'll be following up personally with the director.
All right. I don't think we need to finish watching that.
No. Yeah, it's the closeout. I mean,
one
APL,
thing,
as I call her, and it's just, I think they're doing good shit. I think it was just the freedom and maneuver. I won't put it all in Trump's hands. Plain and simple.
You can't be, but I do think the Trump movement, for whatever it's worth, has pushed the people, like those people we're seeing with Burleson and specifically Burchett, to ask these questions, and people like that to get into office, where you didn't see that as much 20 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, I would say I think it's more freedom of maneuver.
It is.
Ran over something more so than these people getting put in office, right? I think it's more of these people have been in office. I think there are, I don't think all of Congress is good. I think some are bought out, but I think there are.
I think the majority are.
Yeah, but I think there are the select few, that are aligned similar to us that are like, well, what is going on? I want to know what's going on. And they've finally been given, man, dig into it. Go ahead. You do.
But we'll see if it gets us anywhere, though.
I don't think it will.
Probably just it's probably just limited access. Like, we'll see if they get these documents from Germany, like they were talking about. That could be very interesting.
I firmly believe we won't. It'll just be another stall. It'll be another look over here. Look over here.
Most likely.
Yeah.
Most likely. If I was to bet on it, I would say that's absolutely what's going to happen. But one thing I did want to hit on, which is interesting, which I'm kind of going to make a correlation here, but they were talking about Jolly West. He's called in for all these things. He's called in for Jack Ruby. Like, he's not a psychiatrist from the area. And this is something you see a lot of times. We see it in the Charlie Kirk case. The coroner was not from the area. They called this dude out of state. Coincidentally, he's the same coroner who surveyed the bodies during October 7th in Israel. He's the same guy. So, I mean, they have these people on the payroll, and they can call them to basically, how do I want to say this? Prove their narrative.
It's the call-ins. It's the guys that they know they can, hey, we need a favor. And honestly, that goes through most people's lives. There's people you have in your life that where someone, hey man, I need help. Hey man.
Yeah, but that's different.
And it gets more. I know it's different. I'm just trying to relate it to that side. Whereas it's different. Whereas someone who knows you, like how many times did hey man, I ain't making it into PT this morning.
Right.
But you know what I mean? But it's a deeper, more subversive level where this isn't just a friend. This isn't just, this is someone that's probably paid off. Someone that, I mean, at the end of the day is probably just paid off. Hey, when we need you, you're going to show up and you're going to say what we need you to say.
And that's my point. This isn't a favor. This isn't somebody calling up like, hey, I need you to do me a favor. This is their job. This is These people are paid to do this. Okay, when we call you, you come and you say what we want you to say. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's
No,
it's
I
not
agree.
the buddy system. It's the we give you $2 million a year to do exactly what we say when we need you to do.
And it doesn't matter when we call you up. We might not never call you, and you're still going to get this $2 million a year.
Yeah.
But when we call you, there's no questions asked. You're not going to say what, when, where. Nope. You're not going to. None of this is going to happen. You're going to say, all right, and show up and do what's expected of you.
Yep.
And
100%.
I truly think it's to that level. And you know, something we've talked about in the past is like the missing scientist, all this stuff. I think those were the people that said no.
I agree with you. Like,
Yeah.
You've said it before. Like, you don't have an option. You either take the money, or that's probably going to be it for you. Like, there's not a third option in this shit. Once you've got yourself into these systems, they don't just let you out. It's like organized crime. You don't get out of organized crime. You think you do this shit and then they let you leave?
Yeah. You have too much information.
Right. You don't get a fucking leave.
Yep. It's like, we can do this the nice way. You know, we see it in movies. And that's another thing I always touch on is soft disclosure. I think Hollywood is a big part of government. And I think it's a big part of all of this.
Absolutely.
And same thing, we can do this the hard way or the easy way. You know, you take $2 million or we're going to kill your family. All right, man, give me the $2 million a year. And hey, I'm good, dude. Like, how many people would say that?
Yeah. Most people, if it's that or dying, like, I don't know how many people.
Not even me. Okay, kill me. I don't give a fuck. Talk about my family. Talk about my kids. You go and you send me pictures of my kids, like, and that's the thing. Like, sorry, I don't want to go on too much of a rant, but like, I talk about my mom is one of the smartest people I know. I'm not going to go into who she is. Incredibly smart, and I talk about these things as me and Jay bounce these ideas off of each other. Same thing I do with her, and she goes into this, and it's the same.
Thank you, Squirrel. We appreciate you being here.
Hell yeah!
You can also troll us though. We enjoy that.
Yeah. We're horrible to each other.
Yes.
To each other. I can't even talk. But it's one of her things I always go into is like, you think everyone's good. You think like, and I'm like, and she goes, well, I do. She's really a scientist at the end of the day. Well, trusted sources. I'm like, well, how easy is it for, you know, someone to go into your trusted scientists and your trusted, you know, media, and then they send them a picture of their kid with a gun to their head and said, hey, listen, you going to publish this report? And some of them do. And nowadays, how easy is it for them? Even if they publish it, they just erase it from the internet. It never shows up anyways. But how many people are going to say, okay, all right. I'll take the 10 million. Leave me alone. I'll keep my mouth shut forever. And then think of that on a grander scale when it comes to cancer cures, when it comes to any, dude, it's endless. It's endless.
And then it doesn't even have to get to that level. Like, it could just be character assassination. Like, they could just make up a lie about you, some heinous lie, and it can get proven false 2 years down the road. It does not matter. You've still got that label. Like, let's say they label you as, you know, you did something to kids. You've got that label. A vast majority of the population is convinced that you are that. That's the way that shit works nowadays.
Idiots, dude. People are idiots. People will never look beyond what they're told. So many people, and that's like sheep to grass. You know, I like to go back to that. It's stupid that but I like it. It's like sheep to grass. So many people have these blinders on. And whether they watch mainstream media or not, but whatever is told to them through Instagram, through all this stuff. I mean, we're here, YouTube, but like, I think YouTube is still one of the ones that you can still find. It's not the, you know, Wild West days of YouTube in, you know, 2006 or 2008.
But we can say retard.
Yeah, but so many people, there's the majority of the population have these blinders on, and what they're told is what they believe, and it doesn't matter. You know, like, like you said, 2 years later, something could come out. Oh no, they were proven innocent. It doesn't matter. They believed for 2 years that you were a pedophile, or you were, I don't like that you went there. I'm going to be honest, but like, you were.
I'll just use it as an example, like the most extreme example.
That's a hard scale of it. But like, you committed treason or whatever, and it's proven you didn't. It doesn't matter. Those narrow-minded people are only going to listen to what they were told to by, and it's
whatever authority,
scary.
Whatever authority figure they appeal to approve their position in reality. That's like all
it
is.
And going back to the MKUltra and what this whole episode was about, I think it's just evolved. It's evolved from LSD and doing that level of experiments on people, where now they've realized how easy it truly is, how simple it is to guide the sheep to the grass, how easy it is to put blinders on people and just bombard their algorithm and do all this shit to completely guide people through life with media, with Hollywood, with all this bullshit, where we don't need drugs. We really don't need to be intrusive to control people. We can be very on the outside and have our hands barely in anything. And I people are going to listen and do what we want. And that's scary, dude. That's scary.
And I don't even necessarily think if it's blinders. I think they have it to where most people do not care. Like, you talk to normies about this shit and they just don't care. Even you could be telling the most heinous diabolical shit. What the fuck? What do I care? I have to go to work tomorrow. Like, that type of shit.
And it goes into the thing I've said before too, is why there's this big push right now. There's this big push for control because we have older generations. And I'm sure plenty of us have seen it. Older people pull up an AI video and like, did you see this? And you're like, dude, that's clearly fake. Like, that's AI. But so there's this level of control that they know they have on the older generation, in older Gen X's and boomers and stuff like that. I don't mean boomer, but like baby boomers. They know they can manipulate, and those are the people that control the money right now. Because ideally, when you look at a civilization, that's how it works. Like, a growing civilization is a pyramid. You look at Russia, China, and how we're starting to be, it's inverse. And that's not what we're going to get into now. But so they have this control and they're trying to push it now. But I don't know. I just think people need to wake up. And me, I'll say it. I think I like that term. I'm a violent fucking hippie. Like, I don't think we need to worry about skin color. I don't think we need to worry about that. I do believe, because we have a bunch of viewers. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. And I'm going to say it irregardless. I do believe there is incompatibility when it comes to certain things, religions and other things.
Cultures.
Cultures, yeah.
It's obvious.
I'm never one that if you tell me your religion, you tell me your culture, I will never judge you on it until you act a certain way, especially when it comes to my family and hell, even my country. I'm fine until you do something that I'm like, hey man, nah. Like, you can leave. You can leave.
Yeah, it's like that video you sent me today of that woman. She's an immigrant here, and then she's saying how America's not great. Take your ass back then. That's why I couldn't be president, dude, because I was just like, yeah, get her the fuck out of here. You came here, and now you're going to tell us we're not. Yeah, bye. Go back to the old place.
But here's the caveat. A caveat to that is I'm all for immigration, but people who want to do good with it.
I agree with that.
Yeah, exactly. But you need to say it nowadays, and that's the thing. Like, it's not a given. You know what I mean? Our country was built off immigration, and it's good. There's people that come here,
but it was people who
came want to build
to work.
Exactly, and that being said, there's plenty of people from here that manipulate the system too.
Yeah.
Same thing. Send them out. Like send them to somewhere crazy and be like, hey, you want to manipulate the system now? Like see what can fucking happen. Because I am fully aware of how blessed we are to be from where we are. Right?
Yes. Like as bad as we have it, we're still not living in Uganda. Like at the end of the day.
Exactly. Like we are so incredibly lucky to be American, to be from here, to not have to deal with certain things. But at the same time,
this is as good as it's going to get.
It's as good as it's going to get. And I think
without, and I'm not promoting this just so anybody thinks, or am I? I don't know. Without a violent, without a revolution.
He had a good point. Sorry.
Without like a complete teardown of the system right now is as good as it's ever going to be. We will never have more freedom than we do right now.
And I wanted to talk on not so private
playlist.
Yeah. I want to agree with that. And it is. And we've talked about it in previous episodes that, the AI bullshit. And they're like, oh, well, they voted for us. It's 3 fucking people. It's saying
3 people.
It's and you're saying it's completely legit. No, fuck you, dude. And then not only does it pass, but all the people come out and we're like, what the fuck? No. Well, clearly you paid off these 3 people.
And then if it doesn't pass, then Sam Altman will just come and sue you and hold a fucking press conference and telling you why it's going to be so great, even though you and the city council said no.
Why he's such a great person. I'm suing you, but I think it's for the better of the people. I think it's, I think this will teach us all a lesson. Like, get the fuck out. I don't want a fucking data center.
No.
Like, and it's something else, because we have some viewers right now, and I appreciate everyone for coming by, but it's something we've talked about when it comes to AI. Is like, we're going on a rant here, but we like to go on rants here. I like to drink when we're talking on these things, but the same thing is like AI is fucking scary to me because, again, I'm a violent hippie. Like, human creativity, art, all this shit, if you take that away from people, I feel like it gets scary. Like, I feel like, and you're already seeing it. You see people can plug in, make me a rap song about this and this, make me a country song about this and this. Bam. 5 minutes of waiting time, it's there. Paint me a picture of this. I wanted an oil painting with, heavy contrast. If you take creativity away from people, I think the situation gets pretty fucking scary, man. Because I think one of our biggest and strongest things is our creativity. Like, we're able to see a problem and approach it, especially a group of people. Jay approaches it from one way. I approach it from this way. Not so private playlist approaches it from this way. And then we kind of will, and it's just human nature. We kind of will argue at first. My way is right. But then, after a certain amount of time, all 3 of us come together and we come up with a great solution.
I mean, it's already here though. Like, you see it. I see it in college all the time. Nobody's learning anything in college anymore. You don't need to.
No.
You don't need to. It's all, everybody's just using AI. And I was watching Sam Tripoli. He had a podcast with the ex-professor. He lost his job. But he was talking about, he went to making students do oral exams, like standing in front of him, and he was questioning, because that's the only way he could stop them from cheating. Like that, because these AI detection things, they don't fucking work at all.
No. In personal experience, I'm not going to say too much because but my mom deals with with a similar thing, but she deals with graduate level students and not in person. And she approached me with this question, and it's the same thing. And pretty much what Jay just said, that this professor was doing is like, short of on the spot questions, especially when it comes to like, because this is leadership in a certain field. I won't even say what field. Leadership in a certain field, short of on the spot questions. What do you do? Talk to me morally and ethically. 1 second.
No, you're good. I'll hit on it while you're talking. But that's the only way you can do it as an oral exam. Nothing else works. If you can say, oh, well, you have to write down their work. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. I can tell AI to draw me out the math solution to a problem. And guess what? I can just scribble that down. I can tell them to write me some formula, weird formula I need, or structure for chemistry, and then I could just draw it out. The only way to do it is to test their brain. That's it.
Yep, on the spot. And you know,
Yes.
and also when this happened, I consulted with someone that we know that's very well versed in AI, and he came up with the same pretty much experiment answer, and ran it through AI, and AI even came up with the same answer. Is on the spot scenario things, especially when it comes to leadership, because a lot of like her things isn't knowledge testing. These people know what they need to know about their field, right? Like this is on a leadership scale where it's morals and decision making. So it really does come to the fact you got to ask a question. This happens. What do you do? And explain to me your thoughts through it.
And that's the problem. And a lot of times with degrees like that, you're going to get weeded out once you get to clinicals and stuff like that. But I will also say, for a lot of these degrees, I don't give a fuck. I'm glad the students are cheating, because you're making them take 3 years of shit that doesn't apply to their degree, and then 1 year of shit that does, but you're going to charge them $140,000. Granted, they probably shouldn't have got the degree anyways. Probably should just went to trade school, but it's just the principle. If you're going to charge me a bunch of money, I'm damn sure not going to fail if I have a system that's going to help me pass this course that I really don't give a fuck about.
And you know, that leads into a whole nother thing we've talked about, the debt system and pulling people into the system.
Right.
You know, you go to school, you accrue $200,000 worth of debt. You're already in the debt, you know. By the time you get out of school, by the time you get into especially these higher levels, you get a family. Oh, you have kids. Oh, now you need a house. Now you need not one car. We've talked about it. 2 cars. Oh, yeah. It's all about pulling people away from being self-proficient. I can grow my own food. I don't need to go to Walmart. Or, you know, I can grow my food and Jay can raise cows. I need milk. I bring him, you know, a couple cucumbers, some things of, you know, broccoli, like whatever, some corn. He gives me milk. There's a reason why fair trade is dead.
Yeah. Somebody said it the other day, you know, back in the day, a man could work 40 hours and he could have 3 families.
Yep.
That's how good it was back then. You could have more than one family. But we need to wrap this up. It's 10:30 and I
need to leave in the morning.
I still haven't packed. So
that's me too. Yeah, but you'll pack 3 things and be fine. We got washer machines, you know that. But we have 18 viewers. We appreciate you guys deeply. We really do.
Thank you guys.
We're really big about talking to you guys and conversing and having you a part of our community. Subscribe or whatever it is on YouTube. That's free. It doesn't cost any money. We're here Wednesday, Friday, 7:30.
We'll be back Friday.
Eastern time.
Friday we'll be together.
Yep. So again, not so private playlists. Raymond. I mean, we lost a bunch of people as soon as I said that, but still, Squirrel, all you guys. If you're here or not, we appreciate you guys. We appreciate you being in comments and talking to us. We're just 2 crazy dudes. Dudes being
Pretty
guys.
much.
Yeah.
Pretty much just dudes doing dude stuff. All right. Talk to you guys Friday. Friday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time.
Yes. Later.